All right, welcome, college esports fans. My name's Superman, and casting alongside me today is Jihad. Best of 3 match between the University of Utah and University of Colorado Boulder.
I'm super excited here. They call it the Rumble in the Rockies, do they not?
They do. It's a rivalry from early 20th century. Like, forever, these two teams have been going at it.
And so that's going to make this match really, really important for both these teams. They're both really going to want to win. And, you know, to be at the point in the tournament they are, just the after this match implications coming, just for the tournament itself and for this rivalry, they're massive.
Yeah, I mean, other than just the school rivalry, these two teams, they're not just going for school pride, it's a lot more than that. Here for college LoL, this match today, the best of 3 between Colorado and Utah, will determine which of these two teams will move on to postseason. Not only just the possibility of the large prizes of scholarship money, but there's already the first $1,000 of scholarship per player for whoever even just makes it into the playoffs out of these two teams. And the other one gets nothing.
Yeah.
So not only do you get that first $1,000 per player, but the shot at more, maybe even the championship for College League of Legends. So it's super exciting for both of these teams, a real nail-biter of a match. So I'm excited for us to get right into our first game this evening. We'll have Champion Select for you very soon, but these players have got to be nervous.
Yeah, just rivalries in general. And, you know, the University of Utah has a lot of these rivalries that are really emotional and really taxing on the players. We in football and basketball and other traditional sports with the likes of BYU and Utah State and everything, and now one outside of the state. I can't even imagine how all these guys are feeling right now.
Yeah, the Rumble in the Rockies will continue. I mean, it'll be. I hope this is the beginning of the esports side of that kind of rivalry, and that it'll be one of those token rivalries that people can look to and be like, yes, even though traditional sports has kind of like the monopoly on hyping up these types of matchups between schools that have history together, moving that and showing it in esports is really exciting to me, to kind of bridge the gap between those.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that that's the goal of the uLoL and other organizations that you and I are a part of, it, like with the PAGG and everything, trying to get esports a more mainstream thing. A friend was telling me over in Korea they have like esports bars and stuff where just
all over. It's a huge culture in South Korea where you have they call them PC bangs, where it's just essentially internet cafes that just are as common and litter the cities like as common as 7-Eleven is in the States.
Oh,
They're just
okay.
like everywhere. And so it not only is gaming just a part of the culture there, but it's like the social culture.
Yeah.
It's not just everybody likes to play games, it's we play games together. We go out on Friday nights as like all of our group and we go and play. So it's really just like the heart of the culture over there. And
That's
maybe
great.
you can see that like it impacts the skill difference.
It
because it's
might. It
different
just
culture.
might.
But we'll have to see how much practice these two teams have put in. Let's get right introducing for University of Utah. You can see we got Swish in the top lane, Kraydon in the jungle, Soul Rush heading up mid with James, the star player of University of Utah, and Adam Josh 11, his star support.
Amen, brother. And then over here on the side for Colorado, we have Zului in the top lane, 29A in the jungle, Soligo running in the mid with Akonda and Fisk in their bot lane.
And, you know, these two teams are pretty well matched up. Most of these players have never finished a season lower than, like, Platinum, if that, right? These are all Diamond Plus players, a couple of Master, and a Challenger player on either team. So we've got James here, 600-plus LP Challenger season after season, and then similar being true of Colorado's mid laner, actually, is Soligo here, Challenger mid laner, through and through, season after season, really strong player, and someone to watch in this matchup.
For sure. And so one of the things about League of Legends is you always want to play toward your strength. Where is your strongest player? Where's your strongest lane? What's your winning everything? And so it's going to be interesting to see just where these guys put the priority. It's going to be really focused, I think, Colorado, on that mid lane, on Soligo. The fact that his position on the map is a lot closer to objectives like the Baron or ganking in the top lane, has easier access to the bot lane and all of those kind of things, where James, as the AD carry, is going to be on that bot lane. It's going to be harder to go for things north of the Drake and to roam and to really be that power unless they can just destroy this bottom lane and take that turret early and then start roaming around.
Yeah, and it's really an exciting thought with the new patch.
Oh, yeah.
Both of these teams have, and even like the coaches, have only had a couple of days to figure out 8.4. And massive changes. This is an insane level of a patch. On the dive, they talked about how, you know, on even numbered patches, they look for slightly larger, and they try not to do massive changes until mid-season, coming into like MSI, because they don't want to mess up, or mess up, quote unquote, the pro scene.
Yeah.
In the middle of a split, right? But here we are in essentially the middle of a split, the middle of collegiate LoL, where we have this huge patch, changes to items, changes to champions, a new champion who's not actually released yet, but he's on, is on this patch and will be released later. All of that to figure out, adapt your team to not only learn the new items and learn the new champions, but to learn to play against it and to scout, to try and have any idea what the other team's going to try. It's an exercise for sure in coaching, right?
Yep, exactly. And so I think we are ready here for Picks and Bans. Let's get that pulled up right now.
Yes, all right. So as you can see on our screen, first ban comes from Sion. Is going to get taken away from the top lane. Swish not going to be able to play that. Or Adam Josh down there on the support if he was thinking about it.
I like that ban, though. I think Sion is a really good ban. He's strong. He's very pokey, very durable. A lot of crowd control. Especially the duration that you are knocked up and stunned and everything from his ultimate is long enough that he can get a full channel on that Q and knock you up after. It ends up being like 6 seconds of just can't move.
Yeah, it's insane levels of crowd control that either the top lane or the support can bring out. And either one of them building like a Knight's Vow to help the AD carry, or even the mid laner stay healthy throughout fights, just shows you the power of a champion like that. But Skarner gets taken away from the jungle as well. The Buffaloes just not want to play against it. One of the stronger champions, they were talking in LCS and on the dive about how Skarner is, generally speaking, stronger than Sejuani post-Sejuani nerfs. And then, of course, Jarvan's still in the top tier, but he's taken there's some gameplay changes you have to do. We talked about Raptors and whatnot with his nerfs. So Skarner kind of up there if you play the champion.
Right.
And Kraydon definitely does.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's not a big 5v5 champion. He's a more skirmish champion. With top laners like GP and Camille and Gnar being the split pusher, you're having more squads of 3, maybe 4. And so he really excels there, able to get past that line, especially because your top laner is normally the one with all your crowd control or your jungler. So with those guys out doing their other things, I think Skarner is really good against those smaller pockets and can really wreck a small, not a full team fight, but a good skirmish.
4 jungle bans, Juhadre. What's even left at this point? It's like, do you go Gragas? Do you go some sort of fighter? Camille has seen a lot of play in the jungle in pro play, especially in LCK, a little bit in LPL, but not much in NA. Like,
so Jax is the NA pick.
Yeah,
here at this level.
Similar style as Camille.
Yeah, it's gonna be, and even then, wow. Okay, so there's the Camille, but
it could be top lane, though. It's a flex pick here because, and this is another strength of the pick of Camille, is that it can be flex in top or jungle. And with so many jungle bans, that's such a strong first pick here from Colorado. I mean, the Buffaloes have kind of set Utah up to have to blind pick bottom lane almost entirely here because they have to know what is this Camille gonna be. But the problem is if they don't pick their jungler either now or on their third pick, the first rotation,
then it's going to be sniped even further.
Yeah, then you just ban, if you're Colorado, you just ban out the rest of the possible junglers. You ban out the Jax, you ban out even like Gragas, and maybe even the Rengar.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I was talking to you about that.
Yeah, and so there's not a lot left here in the jungle at all. Utah's kind of put in a spot here. I like that they do go ahead and pick the bottom lane. Adam Josh, amazing Alistar player, and Ezreal will keep James safe.
And so that's what's interesting is other teams we've seen play against the University of Utah understand just how good Adam Josh is on the Alistar and ban it, not just in the first phase, but first ban. It is the first thing to go out, and so I like that pickup from the U, understanding their strength, seeing exactly what you were talking about. Okay, we don't know where this is, so let's pick our bottom lane. Let's make sure that we have, solid synergy, tough, strong champions that we're good playing, and then we'll work on it from there. But the Tristana answer is interesting. Her ult just got nerfed too. The cooldown on that.
Yeah. So it ends up being that Tristana has a lot. Well, there's a lot of Tristana changes. We'll talk about those in a moment because I want to talk about whether or not this is going to be solo lane, if it does indeed get locked in the solo lane Swain, or if it'll even show up in the jungle. It's not terrible in the jungle, but we've got like basically nothing left. Okay, it will be the Nunu. I'm okay with this because guess what other champion is available in mid lane?
That would be Azir.
Yes. Now we're into the second round of bans, but the first pick of this next phase will be for Utah. And now that you've said, okay, we have our jungle, we have our bot lane, probably for both these teams, the Camille's still flexed, right? You still don't know if it will be adaptable, but they're going to ban away Azir. They don't want to play against it, which makes you wonder if the Nunu is going to be as impactful as it otherwise could be.
Yeah, what's the champion pick?
Then say a Jax or even Rengar if Kraydon.
Evelyn just got buffed too.
Yeah, buffed back. She did get nerfed a couple patches ago, and they said it was a little too heavy-handed, so they gave her a little bit back. I don't think Evelyn's quite as strong as she needs to be to see competitive play, but I mean, when so many bans have come through for the jungle, what's left? You might have to go to
Graves or Nidalee or something like that. That would be fun.
I saw Nidalee, I believe it was in Collegiate yesterday.
Oh.
But we'll have to see. I think it was UCI that played it. I can't remember exactly. But the last bans come through. Let's see what they pick. Remember, there's only solo lane picks available here for the Utes.
And even then, that got sniped pretty hard too. That's 5 mid lane bans. But I don't know about this Fiora though. Fiora would do okay into Camille if that's there. But I think that oh man, they keep tricking me here, but I think Shen is a really good option. The fact that he's durable, he has that global ultimate to help anywhere on the map. He's going to keep teleport and just have extra global pressure. And I think that that's a really good choice there from the University of Utah, answering the question with something that will always be relevant.
Yeah, and they definitely want to give Soul Rush the last pick here. That means that he'll have the opportunity to answer the Corki mid and counterpick to it and take whatever he's comfortable in. Because remember, when talking about the stars of these two teams, it ends up being that the mid laner, Soligo here for the Buffaloes, is their star player. He's the strongest. He's the challenger, high-tier player, whereas James is. So bottom lane is where they want to put their focus. You saw them pick those two. But now they're saying, okay, because we know mid's going to be rough for us on the side of the Utes, then we want to be able to answer. But Soul Rush is known for his Aurelion Soul, and it might come through here.
I'm really excited to see that. I think we saw it one other time, and it did exactly what it needed to do. I think it would be a good pick. It'll be decent into Corki. It'll be safe against the Rek'Sai. Oh, no, he tricked us.
Yes!
He goes for the Xerath, which actually is something that you and I talked about not 5 minutes ago, about that being a really good champion right now. We've seen Soul Rush not just play, but excel on this champion. Xerath is really, really good for him, especially into these matchups. The ganks from the Rek'Sai, he'll be able to throw that stun because Rek'Sai comes in a straight line. There's no juke in there. And even with the Corki, just the range to be able to withstand the poke, everything like that, I think that is a fantastic way to end the draft.
Yeah, I mean, this will be whether or not Soul Rush can get ahead or at least maintain mid lane. And if they can put enough extra pressure to bottom lane, if not mid lane, to bottom lane here for the Utes to get James ahead, to make sure that James has his items. Of course, Ezreal with Kleptomancy is designed within this meta to get ahead, even without kills, just staying in lane, staying there, getting the poke. You get your extra consumables that you can either sell or consume, and then, of course, the extra gold from that will just allow you to complete your cheaper items in the Ezreal build than, say, the Infinity Edge into multiple Zeal items that a Tristana will need to get going. But the scary thing here is that the Buffalo's composition is also designed to get onto Xerath.
Yeah.
Xerath, extremely high damage. But Rek'Sai, Camille, how do they not get on top of the Xerath? There's no black shield for them. There's black shield for those frontline initiations, though, here for Buffalo. So I like the drafts in both these teams. Very different style compositions, though.
For sure. And we were also talking about just looking over the history of how these teams play. Colorado is really big, especially their top laner, into the fighters, into wanting to rush the early game and, snowball, excel very quickly to become the menace of a late game team fighting team. Whereas the University of Utah, we've seen they try very hard to rely on James as their carry. They want to scale, they want to stay safe, and then go a little bit longer in their game times, maybe 35 to 40 minutes as opposed to the 26 that the meta has changed to recently.
And what that looks like for an Ezreal is the type of champion that almost his power spike, it looks almost exactly like a square root, I want to say, especially like if you freehand draw it and you kind of like fade off at the end, where you're so strong in lane. Like that first little bit, you're so strong because you have the extra poke, you have amazing sustain, especially if you get consumables, and generally speaking, you're just going to have really good sustain in Ezreal because you're playing from such range, but still dealing so much damage. And of course, easy to last hit when you have so many different spells to help you with it. And then of course, you buy tier, and you come back, and yes, you can poke and kind of do the same things, but they probably have a BF sword or something like, or at least some damage to help them push you back or something like that. And Tristana might help like push you into turret, and so you kind of will miniature fall off for a little bit there. But then you just power spike huge as soon as you complete either Triforce or Gauntlet, and you're stacking your tier, and you just have a massive mana pool that you can just like throw out spells willy-nilly and poke people down and be really strong in lane. Your ultimate has a really low cooldown because it's reduced all the time.
Every spell you cast.
So it ends up being that you have this massive power spike, and then you're really strong, especially into the mid game, and you don't drop off late game, but you fall when in comparison to the high crit build champions like Tristana, who's going to have that extra range on auto attacks and crit damage to melt your front line. Whereas Ezreal's a really bursty AD carry, surprisingly so. If you have brush control and you start channeling that ult with someone who's about to face check you, you can pretty much 100-0 anybody, even like off tanks. Like the bruisers.
Like the fighters.
You see Camille, who did get flexed into the top, didn't end up being the jungle, or the Rek'Sai, likely to have at least one damage item each, if not more, which means they're not going to be super tanks. Ezreal could actually, if he has the items, burst 100-0 either of those guys if they face check.
Yeah, and so I think that's why they also picked the Shen and the Xerath, because they don't fall off.
No.
The later the game goes, I think that they're going to just keep being strong And especially with Shen, you know, if he gets hit really hard, that shield gets bigger the lower health your target has.
The highest scaling champion in terms of damage is in the game, though. The Corki, with the crit build, as soon as you have Triforce, Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire, you can, like, half health someone from the screen away, right? You just land a big one, the rocket, and then you auto-attack them. And if it crits, they have to base.
Yeah, for sure.
They're like, I don't have enough potions to heal 1,000 health back. Thank you very much. I'm returning to base. And you're really sad about it, too, because you lose a lot of pressure. Especially if you're Xerath, you're not going to be building like health stacking items by any means.
No,
and so you're just
all.
going to be a very squishy backline champion. And it ends up being who can hit their item breakpoints. And I think the story here is going to be scary late game Buffaloes.
Yeah.
They almost take it by storm in just terms of their composition and what it can do. And they hope that the Rek'Sai tracking in the jungle will do enough to help them get there. Whereas for University of Utah, we have amazing mid-game. Once there's level 6 on everyone, the level 6s on the other side do almost nothing to help against Utah's aggression that they can put in that beginning of the mid-game. So here we are on to Summoner's Rift. This is game 1 of a best-of-3 between the University of Utah and Colorado. The Buffaloes and Utes going head-to-head in their best-of-3. There is a ton on the line here, Jihadre.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I am so excited for this game. I think that the pressure will just make these guys excel. They brought their A game. No, I take it back. They brought their S game.
Yeah,
right? They need all of it here because this is a really big deal. And rivalry matches are just so much fun to watch. We see them in traditional sports, but even like in the bigger LCS games. Just today, it was Fnatic versus G2, and there was hype all over the place to see which is the actual best team in Europe. And I think it's so much fun to watch these high-pressure, high-stress matches because it makes a lot of really fun things happen.
Sure does, and you can see we're far beyond the stopwatch meta.
Oh, yeah.
As we're now here. W start for Fisk. He's just looking for a little bit extra gold generation, but James will answer it. I like this. This bottom lane will look somewhat like this, where Akonda with Fleetfoot will just look to take an auto every so often by stepping forward. This is, of course, prior to Adam Josh having levels and being able to combo. And Fisk is likely to take Black Shield at level 2 if he started with W. At least that's what I imagine you'd take, because if you take Dark Binding and you miss, you have 0 2v2 capability in this matchup. So.
Especially against the Alistar. That everyone talks about it, right? That level 2 power spike where you just EQ in and no one can stop you. But with the Black Shield, it just becomes a moot point. You can't do anything and your engage is botched. And so there is the level 2 here for both sides. I wonder if we are going to see the engage, or are they aware of the Black Shield coming out?
Well, the interesting thing about the playstyle here from Fisk is I'm thinking he didn't take Black Shield, because typically if you take Black Shield, then you're not going to stand right on top of your AD carry, because even if you Black Shield yourself or them, the other one still gets knocked up. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the bottom lane. But the junglers meet in the bottom side of the river.
Trying to contest the Scuttle Crab. It looks like it does go the way of Kraydon.
Yep.
Probably because of the consume.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do when someone has 500 true damage to take camps. 490, but...
Rip. But there it is. They do get the Scuttle Crab control, and I think that that's really important for the Utes here because, like we were saying, this is their win condition. Playing to the bot side, getting James and Adam Josh ahead. You want the vision. You want everything there to do it.
So this is really interesting. The Blast Plant is only just barely beginning to spawn because of the changes on this patch. If it weren't for the change on this patch, then double buff Kraydon with essentially full health and Flash with decent pressure here from Utah could have just hopped over Blast Plant, skipped over the vision if he did it properly. I think he might have been able to use it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And then be able. It looks like that's the Scrying Orb that ended up spawning and not the Blast Plant. So the change on this patch actually affecting what Utah could have done with the gank bottom side.
For sure. And like another thing about picking Nunu, with speaking of changes in the jungle, the Tracker's Knife is gone. No more wards, but that's exactly what Nunu does, is he invades, he gets the vision, he steals the camps. And so without those there, I wonder if that's going to make the Nunu play even, a little bit less valuable than it could have been. But the pressure everywhere, we were talking, these Buffalo guys are just they're shoving in the bot side. They're shoving in the top. It looks like mid is even being pushed pretty hard. Almost double CS here for Soligo. And this is what their draft wanted to do, and what they as a team want to do is keep these guys underneath their turrets. Get the advantages early and stay ahead.
Yeah, and actually that's what we're beginning to see develop here. Ooh, okay, we might have a fight though.
Got ice ball into a little tunnel. Not wanting to fight right now.
So what we're beginning to see that's worrisome for Utah fans is the CS deficit in mid lane. We talked about how Corki, Soligo, the highest rated player, the star of the Buffaloes here, already accruing a massive 2-wave advantage for himself. Only 5 minutes in. If this trend continues, we'll have to see if it does, but it looks like an engage in the bottom lane. Stun onto Fisk.
It won't turn into anything just because, you know, there isn't a whole lot of damage right now. Like you were talking about, Ezreal not really high on damage until he completes one of those Sheen items. And so I think that they just let it happen, get decent poke back to, and move themselves away. But good initiation. If they had a little bit more damage there, I'm pretty sure that would have netted them a kill, especially because they have the Ignite on Adam Josh. But now we're going to see some trades here in the top lane. Swish getting the Grasp of the Undying procs and healing a little bit. It's an interesting way to see this top lane go because Shen is durable, but Camille deals so much damage. But here we're going to have the first gank here. James goes away with the Arcane Shift into the flash, and now Adam Josh is the target. He does flash away as well. Nunu going to come around the side. Flash forward. First blood for Fisk. Fisk is going to be hit really low. One more auto attack ought to do it, but it is not there. Instead, it might be a flash forward from Tristana. The shield, though, is going to save Kraton's life. That is a 1-for-1 for first blood, but it's still coming. Soul Rush is level 6. He might try and get some vision and then ult, but Soligo is on his way, stopping that barrage.
Nice communication. Excellent play from Colorado there. Excellent gank path from Rek'Sai. Forces James to flash away. Heal was already used, so he's not able to keep Alistar especially healthy. Alistar flashes, and he kind of just gets caught, right? He dies first blood with the flash forward. Morgana gets that. Morgana gets low, and James tries to chase that down when Kraton shows up, but there's just not enough damage there. Kraton not level 6, not able to put especially enough damage down, and has to just turn away. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, Soul Rush, nice rotation. It's something he's going to have to do. Tries to show up in range enough to maybe pick off Morgana at the edge there with his ultimate, but smart move by Soligo. Communicating with his team, trying to match the Xerath, so if Xerath roots himself to use his ultimate, Soligo can probably delete him out.
Oh yeah, and it's that he already has the Sheen. Soligo has a lot of damage. He's got a lot of money. He's probably going to upgrade that really close to that Trinity Force that he wants to get. No, he's just getting a couple components there. But look at that CS. That's still 23 up over his lane opponent. And the Colorado squad are just running away with the early game here.
Yeah, and look at the map. When it comes to vision, we just saw ward expire near that pink ward on the blue buff for Colorado. Utah had a ward kind of behind it that would see that positional corridor to watch if 29A on Rek'Sai walked through that side of the jungle or went over the wall into his blue. So they kind of know some information, but it just expired. And looking at the vision across the map, as well as in the inventories, there's control wards across the board in everyone's inventory, it feels like, and extra consumable green wards here for James.
I love it.
But this just shows you the pressure. When you're pushing in multiple lanes, if you're the Buffaloes here, that allows you to assist your jungler. Look, 3 members help to safely steal away a blue buff, and taking that away from Soul Rush and mid can do wonders into helping Soligo keep Xerath suffocated underneath his turret. You can see now that CS advantage 32. That's 5 waves plus of a CS advantage. It's insane that he's doing so well in mid here. Corki putting a lot of pressure already, and you know that he's going to scale.
Yeah. And even better than that, they have that control ward on their blue buff on the side of Colorado, so they know for a fact that there's no vision around there. There's no way to steal that buff back. And so it was a really sweet steal there. They take it because they have vision. They keep their own because they have vision. And so I wonder if they're going to let Soligo's buff that he has right now tick way down and then just get it on their own. No, it looks like 29A is going to start that one up there, get himself a little bit ahead, get the crowd. Sorry, cooldown reduction is what I meant to say. Get that up for himself.
Yeah, and what was a solo lane advantage in both lanes for Colorado has now shifted. Swish playing really well on this Shen. You can see his full defensive build. He is post-level 6, has been for a while now, meaning that Stand United is available as a play for Utah. I mentioned how it's going to be strong for them in the mid-game, but it looks like going to have to back off.
The gank is here. Swish is silenced, and he is in a 1v2. He is knocked airborne. Will he get the Shadow Dash? He flashes first. He saves that cooldown. Now Soul Rush is going very far down to Soligo. Has to flash himself. Fights all over the place.
Yeah, the one thing about Xerath is, yes, he has a ton of damage, but if he doesn't land his crowd control, he has no recourse. So there's really nothing left for him to do. Yes, he might still land some of his damage spells, but what happens if his Soul Rush is not underneath his turret and he misses, say, his stun onto Soligo, Soligo knows he can just Falcon and start attacking for free, essentially, because even if he takes some trade back, he has the DPS that Soul Rush on Xerath does not have. So to be able to hold on to your spell if you're Xerath and make sure.
That's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, it is frustrating. The Black Shield, you can see Fisk here doing extremely well. Dark Binding only barely missing out. You can see Akana now catching back up in CS. The Xerath really strong at CSing. Doublelift has often been quoted as once saying, it was last season when he said this, that generally speaking on Tristana, if you can come out of lane even in CS, you're playing like a god.
Yeah.
Because you're going to mess up CS for yourself already, just with your explosive shot. And then to have like a Morgana in your lane too that might mess it up with her pool will make it even more difficult. So staying relatively close is really good on Akanda for doing that. But a teleport comes in.
The collapse is going in onto Kraton. He gets the blast cone out. There's a stun onto Corky, but then the knock-up onto Kraton. Soligo is really low. He does go down. Stand United does save Kraton. He is going to get jumped on. Summoner Heal is going to save him for a little bit longer. There's a stun onto 29A. Will they get another one? He gets the percent health damage. Knock up, but the last auto attack of Soul Rush turns that one around.
Juhadre, what a crazy turnaround. It looked definitely like Kraton was getting caught, but he stays really healthy, flashes away.
No Black Shield. They are going to go underneath the turret. Morgana was not there, and they decided to press that advantage.
Wasn't there because she died, actually, and finally got caught. The Black Shield must not have come through. Maybe there wasn't enough mana. Just remains for speculation. But that crazy turnaround in the jungle, Juhadre, that's huge for University of Utah.
We are going to see, just Swish is here fighting. No, he decides to back out. But I think we want to see what happened in the bot lane. We got a really good look on the fight in the jungle, but let's take a look at the bot side, see what happened to Morgana. Because that's a really big deal. If they got the kill and then shoved Tristana behind her turret to the point where, you know, yep, there it was. Not wanting to waste the shield, and they just delete her.
Yeah, the vision play came through. And then, of course, they just will chase, but not able to get Tristana. But yeah, nice play in the bottom side, playing around vision. Adam Joss finally gets the combo. But look, the CS advantage is in favor for Swish. He just made an amazing Stand United play. Oh, and there's Kraton.
Kraton is here. He wants to land that ice ball. He does get it. He's got physical damage, shield, and they're both dealing magic damage. Whoa. Swish picks up another kill with the assistance of Kraton. This Nunu pick being a lot more effective than we thought it might have been with the likes of an Azir or a more auto-attack-based AD carry. Doing great work.
Yep, and with vision of Kraton in the top side, 29A makes the call. Buffaloes do take the first Drake, so that will give you some idea as to their communication. Really smart play here by Colorado. They know that, okay, we're going to lose Camille. She did get ganked pretty well by the Nunu, but if Nunu's not there, then we can take this neutral objective on the other side of the map. Too bad for them that it's just a Cloud Drake, but it's still something, and it's smart to take it when you know it's essentially free. So nice play there. First brick falls in the top lane, extending the gold lead to only 2,500 or so. Now I say only because despite being 4-1 plus first brick, the CS number in mid lane is so massively in favor of Soligo here that there's a lot of gold generation that's happened there. But nice sneak might happen in the bottom lane.
I think they decided to be a little bit more careful because they weren't backing as far out. Akonda staying a little too far forward, giving away the gank, I think, is what happened there. James doing a nice job dodging out those Dark Bindings. I don't think one has hit him yet. One has hit Adam Josh, 1 or 2, but James dodging those out very effectively. Are they going to? No, they are in vision. They just wanted to get max range on that ward to get it in the tri-brush. And good awareness there. Not even awareness. I want to say game sense, knowing that was going to happen. But the package...
All right, not going to use it to gank into the top lane. I thought he might look for something like that. I'm going to steal away a few minions from the jungle. Might be looking for top lane. You can see it blinking there. It's going to time out. He's just going to go start up the blue for himself. There's a lot of damage from that, so it'll help him.
The package has that on-ground burn. It is so strong. It's more than just getting around the map and knocking people aside. If you can place it right, it cooks the enemy team, and it's so strong.
Yeah, and with 3 melee members on Utah, that's something to consider, where, yes, the Corki package can help him reposition, but as you mentioned, it can do a lot of damage if you have to walk on top of it for whatever reason. Looks like both junglers have walked over vision, but this could be a dive into the bottom lane. There's 4 members.
It's definitely a dive.
5.
That black shield is down. Akonda gets killed by 3 bolts from Xerath. There are 4 members still down here. I think Adam Josh still wants to go in. They have minions now. Red team does lose their mid turret, but now Fisk is going the wrong way.
Well, he's just trying to buy time to waste Utah's time because there's a huge push in mid. Corki with the Trinity Force can do a lot of pushing. They already took the tier 1, and look, half health onto the tier 2 mid. That was a smart play. Fisk knows that he's going to fall, saves his summoner spells, and tries to buy as much time for his team as possible. It looks like they're going to get top tier as well. Nope, they're going to lose their minion wave and might be able to buy enough time. Nope, they're going to have Trinity Force Corki show up to help them as well. That's going to be 2 towers in exchange for 2 kills. Generally speaking, you want to say that's in favor of the Buffaloes. Nice map play.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, that was a lot they put in to the bot lane. What I would have liked to see was once they get the Tristana and you still got 3 guys, I wanted to see a faster back from Swish. Because Soul Rush was already there to kind of help clear out the mid side. They lose the turret. Okay, that's great. But Swish, his lane up there on the top, I don't think his teleport was quite off of cooldown yet. But now, you know, you do lose that turret. I think, though, that the Utes are doing a good job not just doing their own plays, but coming back after they'd come out unfavorable. They lose their 3rd outer turret just because Tristana deals so much damage to the turrets, but they pick up their own way to come back from it with that Rift Herald. So good awareness, good shifting everything around. They're not behind in gold yet either. So I think that they're coming out okay in these trades.
Okay, but a worry here for Utah fans is that despite the kills score being 6-1 in favor of Utah, the gold is not there. Let's see a replay of precisely how this happened in bottom lane. You can see a nice poke happens onto Akonda. She jumps in on Tristana, the flash away, but there is Stand United to make him essentially perfectly healthy. And then Swish here, going to use basically his body to just tank up the turret. And then you can see 5 members essentially, 4 bodies here for Utah, plus the ult long range from Xerath, and they just will pick up Fisk on the back end of that. But you can see Soul Rush is actually really strong. Despite being down so much CS, the total gold, ooh, Fisk.
Oh, will the ultimate hit? Fisk goes down to James. Perfectly placed ultimates there. And now Tristana is going to get pinched. There's no black shield to save her. Gonna get hit with the ice ball, kind of rocket jump away, get slowed by Xerath again. And Buster Shot, not gonna do anything really because not gonna make it out. Soul Rush now on a rampage. He was down 40 CS.
Still down 63, but as the Observer let us know minutes ago, the total gold difference is essentially nothing in the mid lane. Despite Soul Rush having so many kills, he just doesn't have the CS that Soligo has, so Soligo's actually keeping up in total gold. And that's really important for Colorado because there's been some sloppy play in the last few minutes in terms of players getting caught out and Utah moving as a squad to pick off enemy members. But total map play, Again, the gold 400 gold difference, it's not showing that Utah is massively ahead because every time that Utah is committing multiple members to some part of the map, the other end of the map has Colorado just taking objectives. 3 turrets to 1. Remember, first brick was in favor of Utah. They kind of just took it in the top lane off of a good gank, but it ends up being the first dragon, meanwhile, went over to Colorado. And then when Utah picks up kills on the bottom side of the map, Colorado pushes the top, and now they've taken 2 turrets, and mid lane Tier 2 for Utah is still relatively unhealthy. Ooh.
So there is the package. Soligo wants to go in, but there is Swish. He is in, gets the taunt. So Zului does come in with the teleport, but now the Drake is still really healthy. That's a lot of damage, and that's a Nunu with a smite and consume. Infernal Drake for the Utes.
Yep, but that's a lot of resources that they committed to that. Remember, that's Stand United to take the teleport from Zului. Now, of course, really good for Utah that they end up netting themselves an Infernal, something that they definitely don't want to give over to Colorado. And it's really strong, of course, for either of these teams. What'll be important here is if they can take mid lane. Corki had already used package, and now he's in the base. Not a lot of wave clear left, so this should be mid turret going in favor of Utah. That'll give some gold back over to them, now increasing to 1,000, but still 1,000 gold difference at 20 minutes doesn't spell what you see on the KDA scoreboard. It's not the same. It's not that level of fed that you would hope for. Now, of course, 4-0-1 Xerath, nothing to scoff at. You saw the damage come through, and they've been donating kills to Soul Rush when they catch people out, if they can. So as long as Soul Rush can kind of pick up the farm numbers and not fall behind in total gold simply because of farm to the Corki, then we'll be looking to Soul Rush to possibly be the hero, the carry, the unspoken, the dark horse even for Utah, playing into the challenger high-level play here of Corki, falling behind early, but being able to pick up key kills and get the items he needs to deal damage for his team.
I like this pickup he has here. It's the Oblivion Orb there next to his Luden's Echo. That is a new item that they brought out. It's flat magic pen. So we can see in the inventories there is not a single magic resist item. Nice little turret bug there. That looks really good. No magic resistance. So just that flat 15 magic pen is going to make Xerath hit even stronger, especially if he gets the full Luden's proc on that first hit. It's going to just decimate these squishy little health bars. Not even a lot of hit points being built. Rek'Sai has the 3 items there, and Camille has a completed Trinity Force. But other than that, not a whole lot of defense being built on the side of Colorado. Yeah,
I'm not sure I actually agree at all with Colorado's itemization. I do appreciate Rek'Sai going the tankier build first, stacking health items essentially with Merc Treads. That's really important if he's going to be an initiator at all for his team. But the worry here is that if Camille can't actually be relevant in a fight pretty much at all, simply because she has no defensive stats, not even tier 2 boots at this point, she can't match the split, and she can't really dive the backline without getting bursted out. So right now it seems that any 5v5 would actually be 5v4 in favor of Utah because Camille is a non-factor. Stand United would be huge. And Shen can absolutely duel the Camille right now with Thornmail having been completed for, what, 10 minutes already?
It's been a while, and here we are.
Bullying.
Oh, she missed that hook shot, and now Zului comes worse for wear there. He heals and gets bonus damage every so many auto attacks. He's going to win that fight.
Okay, so the macro play has been really clean here from Colorado. That's for certain. But Utah is doing a really good job taking very low-risk plays with rewards that have actually come through. Normally, when you see League of Legends being played, the strategic trade-off is high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward. And what Colorado has played is the low risk, low reward with some mistakes in the positioning of, especially near the bottom side, their bot lane, just getting caught out often. But in terms of the obvious answer to move more members to the other side of the map and take an objective, they've done that essentially perfectly. Colorado playing really clean macro when even if they do get caught out on the other side of the map, they're returning something on the other side. Utah, though, they've grouped, they've sieged, they've caught people out as multiple members playing really safe so that they've only dropped the 1 kill. The 1 kill at all, and it was just in the bottom lane. Right?
Yeah, it was a dive.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you're right. It was First Blood.
Yep, it was the really good gank path from the Rek'Sai. They did flash underneath the turrets. You could call it a dive of sorts. So it's really strong. Catches there, but only the one has come through for Colorado. But again, I mentioned the gold. It's only 1,000. There's only one turret that has really separated these teams, and that shows you that the macro from Colorado has been stronger, but generally the micro, if you may, from Utah has been their point.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when we were talking about it, the earlier game with Camille, with Corki, and with Rek'Sai, all three of those champions are going to be stronger in the early game and try and shove and snowball. That isn't what's happened at all. And now it looks like Adam Josh is stopped. That's a jump forward from James, taking a whole third of Fisk's hit points. But now he needs to be careful. There's a summoner heal. Stoligo is in the wings with the package. In these small jungle corridors, that could be pivotal for a fight.
Yes, it absolutely could. And you can see the nice choice by James to be going for Blade of the Ruined King as his third item. That gives him the lifesteal he needs to get back healthy after something like that. Of course, he did use Summoner Heal. But more importantly, once he completes that, when there's very little... I'm looking, none. Yeah, 0 bonus armor built so far from Colorado. He'll melt those health stacking players, right? Like, he'll just have so much damage as Ezreal. Plenty to match at the mid game this Tristana build. We have a short pause here, but as you can see, just looking at the scoreboard in general, CS numbers relatively close other than mid, but it ends up being that kills heavily in favor, matching that gold. And because Xerath has been the key for University of Utah early, it's forced Magic Resist, the only resist, really, because mostly it's just in health and damage, but it's forced Magic Resist boots, Magic Resist early on these players here for the Buffaloes, meaning if Xerath's going to be the one who gets his damage nerfed, Ezreal, who's also been able to keep up in farm, he's got a couple of kills, couple of assists, he's going to be able to deal plenty of damage. We're back off of that pause. You can see the dragon spawning in just 4 seconds. Neither one of these teams has really set up vision for it yet.
No, and I think a lot of that has to do with the split push here. Shen answering Camille, but then on the other side, all these jungle fights. But now Tristana is doing this alone, this Ocean Drake. She really wants it, but Shen is on the way. Xerath is there too, and immediately, Soul Rush takes down Fisk. I thought he was going to try and steal the Drake.
Stop and Fisk falls in the mid lane, and they do catch it, so you can see...
Well, there you go.
University of Utah on patrol. They're taking down multiple members. Fisk has gotten caught out. This is 4th death with Black Shield. You wonder what has happened to him and if he's just getting too greedy with his team being too far back with vision. The observer kind of giving us a little bit there. But honestly, in lane, his Black Shields were so on point.
Oh, yeah.
And it made you worry for Colorado, worry for Utah, excuse me, if Adam Josh on basically his star champion would actually be able to initiate in the way he'd like to at all, or if it means the worst feeling as an initiator to say, I'm going to jump in, start a fight, but it does nothing. Now you've essentially just inted because you're in the middle of the enemy team and you haven't actually done anything meaningful. So the Black Shields of Fisk in lane made you think, right? You're really scared if you're a Utah fan at that point. But since then, once laning phase has been over, Fisk has been really awkwardly getting caught. He's really low health. He's a support. If you don't have the vision, you can't just step forward like this. So it looks like there's the amazing
that's what
damage.
Happened. A lot of damage coming out of James right now. Just like you said, he's at that high point of the square root sign right now. He's got 3 completed items, just ready to beat the snot out of anybody who gets too close.
Yeah, and it's just the massive amount of damage. This is that power spike. 27 minutes, 3 core items here for James. 80 carry Ezreal hits like a truck. Ooh, nice root.
First Dark Binding to land onto James all game. But now they've got 4 members here. Ultimate to stop any fighting tier to save the turret, but that demolished damage was massive.
It was. You can see the poke is the name of the game here for Utah. It's the Xerath and the Ezreal. There's this funny time. I play ARAMs a lot with my friends just casually when I do decide to play. And in ARAM, Xerath and Ezreal are like insane. They're really strong. And for whatever reason, we always like say, oh man, it's GG. Not really, but you know, it feels like GG if they have Xerath and Ezreal. For whatever reason, it's become a meme to say like Xerath and Ezreal. And so they do have Xerath and Ezreal, and both of them are quite strong. They're hitting their power spikes, approaching 30 minutes where Ezreal will be extremely strong, but Tristana will start to match that strength. You can see 2 Zeal items on top of Infinity Edge. That's a lot of crit chance. And as long as the fights become extended, Tristana will do the damage necessary to carry a team fight. But the worry here for Colorado is that Utah keeps picking people off. There's never actual team fights.
And even on top of that, right now, this is the point, right? They're starting the Baron. They're going to be dealing the damage. Everyone's coming in, but Stand United is there. Soul Rush is really low. He gets the Stand United. Adam Josh goes and gets a great knock-up. Kraton gets an ultimate, but there's a shutdown on to Soul Rush in the mid. And now that is a 1-for-0 trade, and it looks like the Buffaloes come out ahead. James is, doesn't get hit by the hook shot there.
It does force his Arcane Shift, though, which means they can't really walk over in a more aggressive rotation to mid lane to trying to defend this tier 2. Remember, it was already low from that push forever ago. Soligo, though, has Triforce. There is the proc, and it's just going to get melted. They pick off one member, Soul Rush, in a compromised position, and now they're going to try and pressure this turret. You can see Swish is on top side trying to hold this. Oh, that's so much damage, though. I don't think you can go in. Remember, Zului here, yes, you would think Camille's extremely scary for an AD carry to deal with, but at this point, I mean,
no, especially underneath
no health.
Yeah,
you have no resistances. You barely have your just tier 1 boots. How do you survive diving a turret? You just can't.
No, I don't think you could either, especially because you have Nunu right there. He's going to give the Blood Boil. That's going to give more AP, which means those spells are going to deal more. They're right back on the Baron.
This is relatively envisioned, though. You can see that that control ward doesn't actually show the ward that's against the wall right here.
Oh, he got the taunt with the flash, but now Corki is in. So Ligo dealing a lot of damage. 29A is really low, and he dodged all of those skill shots. So Ligo now is the problem, but Zului is on the far side. They are in vision. Fisk is almost dead as well. James doesn't want to Arcane Shift in, but Soligo has the package, so they're going to back off. They don't want to fight in these close quarters. Like we talked about, that package is so good, and bot lane turret might be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the pings come out from Colorado. The Buffaloes say, look at bottom lane. There's a lot of pressure there. They have to send someone. And now that they know that from a couple of fights ago, in quick succession, of course, in just a few minutes, it's been a couple of fights. That means Stand United's not quite back up. Teleport's available for Swish. Everybody should know this. But are they able to actually pressure the Baron? No. But they're able to clear out vision. And that's a key point. Because what does Colorado want? They want slow fights to break out, which means they have to control vision. They're not really built to catch people, despite their heavy damage builds. They're built to take DPS fights. And so I like that you have Kraton and Adam Josh super tanky walking together here, because if it's just one or the other, they can't actually contest vision. So nice play. Utah trying to get it. You see that damage!
Cow.
Level 10 Fisk getting hit by just 1 Q by Soul Rush. Level 15 Xerath with a couple of items, a lot of AP, and of course the Luden's proc will come through. You can see he's approaching 400 AP. As soon as he completes his next item, you have to be worried if you're anyone on the Buffalo side, because none of them have any magic resist of consequence, just the Mercury treads here for 29A. And you can see last fight that broke out, it was the Rek'Sai, the tankiest member, essentially getting caught out and having to flash away. That tells you that, yes, Colorado would win a 5v5 team fight. They did last time round 2. But can they even get an actual 5v5 team fight to happen? No, but you can see the 1,500 damage crits come through already now that we're past the 30-minute marker for Soligo. That's worrisome if you're a Utah fan, because Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, Trinity Force is so much Corki damage. You have to be so careful if you're anyone here from Utah, even if you're the front line, but they're going to get spotted out doing Baron. This could be a massive fight.
Here's the flash ult from Fisk. Soul Rush takes a lot of damage, but so does Soligo. There are the stuns from Fisk. He gets taunted. He is going to go down, but now Akanda wants to get onto Soul Rush. The flash out the stun. Akanda does kill Soul Rush. 29A wants to go in for this. He is unstoppable. They're trying to get the execute. Red team gets the consume. James is now all alone with Zului. Swish is there to back him up. 29A is really low. Kraton going to do what he can, but Soligo teleports back in. This fight is crazy. Soligo is dealing so much damage. Jump in from Adam Josh. It's a double kill for Wakanda. Swish is going to teleport there. No, he has to cancel it. Swish is now in a lot of trouble. That is a 3v1. He is blocking a lot of auto attacks. He gets the Shadow Dash over the wall, but that is an ace! Wakanda turning that fight completely around.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the Corki show up. So much damage. They're definitely going to get an inhibitor off of this. There's 20 seconds on a lot of members. They might even look to push for a win. This is a crazy turnaround for Colorado. The Buffalo's doing a really good job trying to fight that on the far end of the Baron. I think it's kind of scary to think you would want to contest like the quote-unquote 50-50 style Baron against a Nunu. There's no way that you steal it from a Nunu, but after they get the Baron, then Utah's in a pretty rough spot. You saw Soligo just showing up and melting 2 people at once, and then the last static shiv takes down 2 instantly, giving the reset to Akana to chase people down.
Yeah. And they picked up the Drake on their own side. But look at this. That bottom outside turret is still there for Colorado. It hasn't been touched since that first dive. It's crazy that everything else has been from the mid lane up, from the Drake up, north on the map. There has been no play into Colorado's side of the map on the bot side.
Yeah, and I'm curious about the positioning from Soul Rush there. I think it's really smart when you're contesting, fighting around Baron, that as a Xerath, you stay out of the pit and you stay out of the river because you can still damage from very, very far away. But when you're split from your team and you're very low, you cannot afford to miss your stun. Now, what can you do if Akana is going to flash past it? You just have to hold that spell. If you're going to have your own summoner spells, use them instantly, create that. But well played by Akana, catching out Soul Rush, deleting him instantly to get a reset, and drastically reduce the damage available for Utah. It's really just Xerath and Ezreal, both of them having massive amounts of damage. As you can see, Death Cap now completed. Soul Rush's AP goes off the charts. He's definitely able to pressure Colorado, but he has to stay so far back because now you've got Rapid Fire Cannon on 2 marksmen that deal massive crit damage.
And this is probably spelling the end for the University of Utah here. These Buffaloes are doing so much damage. They're winning the fights. And that Baron went the side of Utah, but look at this damage. It is amazing to see this Tristana going here. 80% crit chance is going to hit you. Oh, Swish does go down. Zului is going to dodge out, but barely making it out with the Ezreal ultimate on the backside.
Yeah, that's Swish getting caught out. He has a lot of armor, but not a lot of magic resist to deal with Corki damage. So just getting CC'd there, trapped in the Hextech Ultimatum. Zului finally being able to help take a fight onto Swish. Swish really strong. He'll be up in 30 seconds. He does have Stand United available. You can see no Warmogs yet on anyone, even though that's like a core item for a couple champions here for Colorado. They're going to take this turret. That's going to be the second break open of the base. Akanda getting rather low, though.
Does get hit with another spell. It's interesting. Which team got the Baron?
It was Utah.
But they're the team that lost their turrets and inhibitor. It was almost exactly reversed. The buff never went anywhere, but the death timer gave Colorado the illusion of actually having that buff and push pressure. It's quite insane.
And then, as many analysts will tell you, when you have to deal with a split pusher like Swish, like a Shen particularly, go to the source of the global. And that's what they did. They said, yes, you guys got the Baron. We took it off of all of your members, got the ace. We push up mid. We still want to keep the pressure. How do we do that? Well, we say, you can't have Shen split pushing, and we need to answer that. So they send a couple members, catch him out. And it honestly took a couple of globals from Utah on top of deleting Shen, right? Then you lose Xerath ult, you lose Ezreal ult, and you don't actually get an answer for it, meaning they can't really defend top lane either. Luckily, they didn't lose a second inhibitor, and this one will respawn within about 2 minutes. So in time for them to contest perhaps the next vision around Baron, but coming towards the Baron, look at all the vision.
A lot of vision for Colorado, but another point that we need to make, we are on 8.4. That means scaling Barons and Elder Drakes. We're at 37 minutes, so the next Baron, if it goes to 40 minutes, instead of giving 24 AD and 40 AP, it's going to give double at 40 minutes. That's 24 attack damage and 80 ability power onto the champions, and then it's going to make your caster minions get the damage reduction buff too.
Yep. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be just the melees were tanky, and you could still delete the casters, which are meant to deal more damage, but buffs to damage 2 structures from Baron minions, and then, of course, stacking Elders is a huge deal. We'll talk about that more if we get to that point. This next Dragon will be the first Elder, and it's important to contest for both of these teams. Both of them have 2 elementals. It's equally hard for both these teams to take. But you can see Colorado starts it up, and they're in position for it.
I don't think there's any way. Inhibitor does respawn, which means they do have a good chance here. Ooh. These Utes coming in. It is unleashed, but now we see Morgana here coming from the bot side. Will they be able to take it? A lot of damage reduction on this Drake because of the 2 that they've taken. Fisk pops the black shield, but it flashes in with the ultimate. James gets stand united there. Soligo on the other side with the package, jumps out, gets the blast plant. No hit there. Soul Rush is standing on the package damage. And now that's the ultimate onto James. He is going to die. Adam Josh will be the next target. Fisk probably going to go on the back side, but he is not. Instead, Soligo is going to chase down Swish. Will he be able to take him down? He has a Guardian Angel, so it doesn't even matter. All they need to do is push. Colorado wins that fight and will probably take an inhibitor from it.
Oh, they're likely going to end the game. There's 30 seconds plus on the damage dealers, and that was what happened in that fight. The 2 damage dealers, Soul Rush and James, they got taken out so fast. Colorado was able to collapse on top of them, so Ligo might actually win this fight. Oh! They kill each other! Oh, what an interesting play.
But here
that'll
it
be
is.
The Nexus. That's game 1. 11 turrets. That's every single turret on the map. Clean macro play from Colorado. They just take that convincing late game scaling to perfection, and they end up 13-11 in kills overall, but their macro play was immaculate here. Despite getting a few members caught out from time again, they answered on other parts of the map. Colorado really clean play, and you could see that when either Soul Rush or James were not able to be a tandem team fight, then there was not enough damage, not enough to stave off the aggression of these really aggressive frontline champions. So, and of course, Akanda, not afraid to flash in and delete someone out.
And that was another point I wanted to make. It wasn't just Akanda, his companion in the bot lane, Morgana. She died so many times early on in the game. You grab Azonias, you flash ult Azonias, and suddenly you're relevant again. And so, you know, good on them for keeping their confidence up, even though they were down so many kills. Just like you said, their macro play was so good. There was no give and take. There was take.
Yeah, it was amazing to watch Colorado play really smart, despite making a lot of mistakes that got punished by Utah. Smart by Utah to punish the mistakes immediately and pick people out and say, oh, you're out of position, we've got this. But the mind game of the Buffalo saying, oops, but they're going to punish it, so what can we do? Is the immediate thought, what is the most valuable position I can take now, knowing that I'm losing something elsewhere? If they're gaining something there, I want to gain something over here, and vice versa, right? So being able to play clean macro nets the win. First win of a best of 3 here, goes over to the Buffaloes. University of Colorado takes that over University of Utah. This is a best of 3, so we'll be into game 2 shortly, but it could be match point for the Buffaloes. We'll return with more uLoL action after a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'd love to have you join us.
unknown into and disappear. Your stories to come from the heart, glue me together and tear me apart. Burning down the walls, we let the monsters in, and now we're burning down the halls. No, we can't let them win. There's an evil inside, it is lurking way down below. And if I can't hold my breath, then I'm bound to become hollow. Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? And I reflected on the memories, but I put out that torch. Hey! But I put out that
All right, welcome back, College League of Legends fans. We're about to get into our second match of this best of three between Colorado and Utah. The Rumble in the Rockies, man. An explosive game one back and forth. The gold was neck and neck all the way until that explosive ending from Colorado.
Yeah, like you were saying, it was so close. I think the highest deficit was only, or I guess the deepest deficit, however you want to phrase that, was only about 1,000 gold, 1,300, something like that. But then they had the fight at the Baron, and Utah got it, but they got aced with it and then lost their mid inhibitor, lost their top inhibitor turret, and then it just kept going and going and going from there. Colorado ending up with the win.
Yeah, there was a lot of clean macro from Colorado. And you know what? I had some time to think during that break, and I think this was, I want to say, a misunderstanding of the patch here from Utah. And it's completely understandable, only 2 days to really learn it. But in terms of macro play, when you have Ezreal and Xerath, your team is not built, as your main damage, your team is not built for Baron, period. No. You can't really, you're really good at contesting it against the other team because you can essentially delete them while they try and take it. But despite having Nunu, then Baron is just not what your team does well. You can kite a lot better around Dragon, and with the Dragon being massively buffed overall, stacking the Elementals and stacking the Elders, becoming a serious win condition in 8.4, I think the amount of resources they committed into Baron should have rather been committed into Dragons. And even like towers. Their siege is really good when you have that much poke. So what I'd like to see in terms of macro here for Utah in Game 2, if they want to bring this to Game 3, should be, even if you go with the same draft, recognize that you need to play to just your strength of team comp. If you go with the similar team comp, that's going to be your early into mid game. Use those spikes to very forcefully pressure down turrets, start out even team fights if you want them, catch people out. They did some of that, but they need to force the objectives on top of it. They took Rift Herald like in exchange for losing bot tier 1 and half health of tier 2 in bottom lane last game. Now, yes, that's a neutral objective, you get it, but it only kind of helped them push mid.
You got the mid,
and
really
they would have had it anyway because at that time, then Corki wasn't there anyway. So I want to see a little bit cleaner macro here from Utah. Think about how the patch has changed whether or not you want to go for Baron, especially if your team isn't really built to take it anyway. And then if you're Colorado, clean up your rotations a little bit.
Yeah.
And by rotations, I'm not talking about answering on different sides of the map, because that was immaculate
For
from
sure.
the Buffaloes. I'm talking about if you choose to pressure top lane, remove yourself from bottom lane, play back, set up your vision to where you want your pressure to be so that you don't lose members on the other side while you are doing such a good job taking your objectives elsewhere.
And so to the untrained eye, that would have looked like a winning scenario for the Utes, too, because it was at 8 kills to 1 at one point,
Yeah.
but the gold was still right there. And that's what you're saying is if you already have the immaculate calls to go to the right spots, then you've got to pull it back so that there are no ways that Utah can be even. Then you get ahead as opposed to staying even with them with all those kills.
Yeah, and I think the nerves got to Soul Rush a little bit. He did get really ahead in kills, but before we get into Champions Select, let's talk about the champions a little bit more in Champions Select. Before we get there, I want to look at the lineups just so everybody knows exactly who we're talking about. You can see here, Utah versus Colorado. For Utah, in the top lane, we have Swish, who did an amazing performance on Shen last
beautiful.
game. Kraydon in the jungle. The Nunu pick was pretty swell. And then Soul Rush in mid got fed on Xerath. A lot of damage from him. James, Ezreal, nice play from him. Adam Josh and his signature Alistar did a lot to help them get an early gold lead.
But answering on the side of Colorado was Zului in the top lane. 29A in the jungle, Soligo, Anaconda, and Fisk. They are back in here, and it looks like these bans are relatively similar. You got the Rise and Skarner coming out just like the first, and then Sion even. Only difference so far is Camille banned for the Utes.
Yeah, I find that interesting. They must have something here on blue side that they don't want answered by the Camille. That's my thought, because Camille wasn't really the problem, it seemed, in that last game. She didn't really put a lot of pressure onto anything. She got a double kill in like the last team fight, but that was only because the damage stats were gone. She could just chase people down. She has that mobility.
Yeah, for sure.
But Swish did an amazing job in the 1v1, had the pressure
yeah.
absolutely the whole time, and his stand united on the Shen was like perfect every single time.
Yeah, it always saved someone.
Yeah, so I like more jungle bans, though, banning out the flex from Camille. Maybe the idea behind that ban is that it being a flex kind of threw a wrench in Utah's draft.
Yeah.
They didn't end up with a bad draft. Neither one of the teams really drafted poorly by any means last time, but perhaps it threw them through a loop that they didn't want to deal with. Here's the last Shen ban, a respect ban a little bit there. Bow to Swish's play. He played amazing on that champion. But Zach going to get stolen away. That's 29A's top played jungle champion on the most recent season. So being able to steal that away is really important. I mentioned to you before the broadcast that it seems banning either Zach or Jarvan, banning one of those and taking away the other for Utah could set 29A back a level.
Oh, yeah, and, you know, he did have a really great performance on that Rek'Sai. I just think that there are some things that there's a reason Rek'Sai fell out of favor, right? The gank paths are so linear you can predict because it is a straight line tunnel, and they changed Rek'Sai into more of that assassin, right? Where you want to rush the Tiamat to get your faster clear, and then you want to get your ult off, which is the execute, instead of changing her in from that front line tank. Speaking of frontline tanks, the Sejuani lock-in for 29A is interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting because despite it being that, you know, tier 1, if not S tier pick still in the jungle in competitive play, for 29A, when I was doing my scouting on these players, 29A never touches this champion. Ever. Like, maybe he's played it in a custom game or an ARAM that's way down his history, but in terms of solo queue and flex queue, there's no Sejuani play. Not just this season, last season too. But it looks like James is going to steal away the Tristana. Swapping these 80 carries now, I want to talk about what's left here. It's either these teams go for their support to round out the bottom lane, or they look for, okay, Kenya has now been subbed in for Soul Rush, and he's going to play one of his signature champions. It is going to be the Orianna. And
so I actually like this decision. We've had the chance to see a lot of the University of Utah games here, and Kenya seems to be more of that fighter mage type of style where he does a little bit better on Azir, the likes of Vladimir and Orianna, as opposed to Soul Rush being more of those pokey champions, those roamers, like we saw this. Did a great job on the Xerath. He's played Talia and does great on Aurelion Sol, those kind of things. So I think after seeing the way Soligo plays, they put in Kenya, who can better match that style, is a little bit more familiar with it, especially with the likes of Oriana, a very safe, very powerful champion. It's going to be interesting to see the change coming in there.
But Azir makes it through, and Soligo does play a lot of this, right? As you mentioned, this could be scary for Utah. Coming into Game 2, they're on their back foot. They're down 1 win in this best of 3. This could be match point for Game 2 in favor of Colorado. If things don't go their way, that's a lot of damage. Again, Ezreal, kind of your insurance policy for the early game, and then Azir, the insurance policy for late game. I mentioned for top lane, you either ban away these fighters or you pick Gnar and still ban away the fighters for top lane. Swish, still going to have picks available for him. There's a lot in his champion pool still left up, but more of those fighters are what Colorado likes to go with.
I think they need to ban the Gangplank here. Colorado should ban it. That's another one of Swish's top champions, but instead they go with the Rumble.
Interesting choice.
Very. And the Poppy ban, some people might be questioning that one, but those of us who have seen Swish in the last couple of weeks, oh man, is he a Poppy player.
Yeah, it's a pocket pick. They'll choose it into certain matchups as kind of a... Yeah, just like a pocket pick. It throws the other team through a loop because it's not something you see in his match history a ton. He doesn't play it in solo queue that much. Poppy, not one of those high-tier champions right now, but not bad by any means. She's at least tier 2, if not tier 1 still, not the S tier by any means, but she can be strong into certain matchups. So they ban that out. That means the remaining last pick here for Red Side Colorado is going to be the top lane. They've kind of put so much focus, both these teams, on top lane bans this time. Swish was massive and ahead for Utah last time. Colorado saying, we don't want you to have that in. We don't want you to have that pressure up there on the top side of the map, so we'll have to see what comes through. They're going to give Adam Josh the Lulu. I do believe that that's a really smart choice. Tristana going to be able to melt the front line, the seemingly non-existent front line here. Sejuani, the only tank for Colorado, and again, 29A, not necessarily comfortable on that champion.
And I think that the bans here, banning the Gnar, banning the Fiora, banning the Camille, was to do exactly this, to pick a tank in the top lane, someone safe. Ornn, still really good. He did just take some nerfs, but I think that you can still pick him because of just how influential his ultimate can be to a team fight. You know, getting the slow on the ram coming in and then the knock up on the way going out. I think that it's a really good idea here, but the answer... I
don't think this gets locked in. I think you either go with either GP for more scaling in your composition, more damage threat, and something that can kind of answer the norm, or you go with the signature Kled, second most played here for Zului, and this will give them more initiation tools onto University of Utah. Nice last pick, giving him a comfortable matchup. He's absolutely going to be comfortable taking the Kled into Ornn. There's not a heavy advantage for either one of these champions. Kled, of course, able to bully out Ornn a lot better. And in terms of 2v2, absolutely in favor of Colorado. They would smash a 2v2. Ornn, Zac, not a ton of damage. Kled, Sejuani, plenty of damage, and double melee to help the Sejuani get her procs. This could spell disaster in the top lane. So much focus in this draft in the top lane. This tells you a little bit about what Colorado's strategy will be. Hopefully you have Azir as your late game insurance policy saying, even if we fall behind early, Azir will scale. Ezreal hopefully will help us get there. And if you're Utah, you say, our team fight is unbeatable. Barring a Sejuani ult onto an extremely priority target, we will melt your entire squad in just a few seconds. The Shockwave with a couple of ways to deliver that ball, and then shields. 3 champions with shielding capability here, not necessarily being able to share them, but 3 shielding champions here on the side of Utah means, will Azir be able to deal enough damage? Will Azir Ezreal damage actually burst down fast enough to not allow Tristana to take the elongated team fight? It remains to be seen. It'll be, I think, a story of laning phase and jungle pressure, which seems, once again, Colorado has put a lot of eggs in their top lane basket.
I think that the biggest change here that I think will be advantageous for the University of Utah is the Tristana.
Yes.
You and I watched Oregon and Colorado play in another game where one of those teams was so far ahead, so far. but then because the Tristana was able to scale, the other team that was losing ended up winning.
Stanford, yeah.
That's what it was. It was Stanford.
They came back. I mean, they were down thousands and thousands of gold, and then it was the Tristana who ended up bringing back, what was it, 2 or 3 team fights in a row that weren't necessarily aces by any means, but defenses of their bases that were strong enough to then push back and get more objectives and do that over and over to the point where they ended up turning it around and winning. And it was, as you said, the Tristana that did that for them. Something could be said about the possibility of that narrative coming through for Utah. But they don't have to be on their back foot either.
No,
they don't have
they don't.
poor lanes. They don't have the push pressure by any means that Colorado does, which gives Colorado the breathing room to hopefully get to that late game. But Colorado has to get there. They have to. Because if they don't reach their late game spike and get catches where they need to, whether that's using charge to just all run at you onto a priority target or Morgana landing a key dark binding, the story here for Colorado is catch someone, burst them down. Because if that doesn't happen, you mentioned it, Tristana can be the hyper carry here for Utah.
It's more than that, too. I think that you nailed it earlier. You said Ezreal is a burst champion. He's not a consistent through-the-fight damage dealer, whereas Tristana is. Sivir is. Xayah is. Those are the champions that we've... And Kog'Maw, too. Those are the accelerated picks that we've seen James really carry games with. And so I think that taking the Tristana, just from what we've seen, from what we've been able to see in the last game, that's going to be the consistent damage and the more auto attacks that he's going to be able to land and really swing where he couldn't before. I think that that was the key change in the draft that will maybe make this go to game 3.
Yeah, I mean... That's the hope for me as a caster. I mean, I'm sure later in my career I'll be like, I hate it when we have best ofs go to max games. I'm so tired. I want to go. But I just love casting.
It's
and
so
I
much
love
fun.
it going to game 3. I mean, we are casting here live from Einar Nielsen Fieldhouse, the historic fieldhouse here at University of Utah in Salt Lake City. Our boys are just in the other room fighting this out. But I would love for this to go to game 3 regardless of who wins in the end.
Oh, for sure.
Because I just want to see more games. That was a close game, game 1.
Well,
I want to see more competitive League of Legends.
And that's what I was going to say. It's not just more games. It's more high-level League of Legends. You know, everybody's watching LCS and things like that in Challenger, but uLoL is just one step below that. It is so good. These guys are so good. There are coaches. There's dedication. There are teams, practices, scrims, all those same things. That just it makes it so entertaining to watch.
Yeah, and that was the idea behind our new organization, PAC-G, where we're hoping to, as a student body, an organization, all the schools coming together to create that organization where we can bring production value, high-level, competitive League of Legends, and, of course, the other titles that PAC-G does, for viewers like you guys who are tuning in today to enjoy, to have exciting, hyped-up action here. Juhadre, the play-by-play paladin, he does that for you. But we're going to load here onto Summoner's Rift. Again, this is game 2. Could be match point for Colorado Buffaloes on a convincing late game scale that convinced us that they can do this. Their macro was immaculate. They won game 1, setting them up for match point here. Again, there are scholarship dollars on the line here. Thousands of scholarship dollars and a postseason for both these teams. There's a stack here on the top side that will spot out at least just Zului, but he could just bait this here. They don't know that 4 people are backing him up.
I think he needs to place a ward. Oh, he is all alone there. He does get caught by the bear trap on a rope, flashes the dark binding. He gets a ward down. They aren't able to take it out, so there is vision on all 5. That leaves James and Adam Josh space to get their own wards there in the bot side of the jungle.
Okay, but we mentioned macro play and how immaculate Colorado was last game, and how much that influenced their ability to stay relevant despite falling down in a lot of kills. What happened was that this play, coming off of the draft, so much focus in the top lane, swish down flash, them setting up a level 1 of that caliber makes me think they have a sincere, serious plan coming here into game 2 to put a lot of focus onto Swish, to try and get Zului so far ahead that he has not only that split push pressure, but that he's strong enough to take whatever fights he'd like to hit charge, use that R spell essentially on cooldown, to let them snowball the lead they hope to get. Fisk, though, takes a lot of damage in the bottom lane.
And there it is. That's what we were talking about. And I think you're right, especially if we look back on game number 1. Swish was the clear leader there for the University of Utah in terms of laning, just dominating that Camille, getting 20, 30 CS leads, being able to take the 1v1 against a duelist champion like Camille, doing a lot of things, getting all of the plays. He's a very great top laner, and so I think that you're right. They saw that they could at least go even in the bot side. They knew that their mid laner could win, and so now you have to hit the next target, which is the top side against Swish.
Level 2 will come out here for Utah's bottom lane first. You'll see level 2 hit in just this minion here. That's matched up. Fisk had been zoned from a couple of minions, and there's his level 2. But you can see Kleptomancy, Ezreal trying to get a little bit of extra gold. It looks like pressure pretty comfortable here for Utah in the bottom lane. They're up in total consumables. Adam Josh feels comfortable getting his poke, using his abilities to grant himself some gold. And then, of course, James taking decent trades. I want to talk about this top lane. As you can see, there's the pressure. Colorado has pressure to push in as the Kled, a lot better wave clear early. And, of course, having the flash down from Swish will make him comfortable to be underneath this turret, but only as long as he has high health. Otherwise, you're going to get dove.
Yeah, and I think he's doing really well here. He's able to time his Bellows Breath with the Bear Trap on the rope, so he gets the shield and only loses 10, 20 hit points as opposed to, the higher numbers like 60, 70. But he's got to be careful because 29A, like we were saying, this is probably their plan, is to play to this top side, get Zului ahead with all that damage, and with the buff to the press the attack. I think that is a really good idea, and Sejuani already up on that top side.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned press the attack. It's really important. Ooh, Bear Trap on a rope does land. But now that escape spell is going to be on cooldown, the idea here for Zului is to not shove too much. You have your jungler in the wing. It's going to back off, but if you can get Swish to use that high cooldown movement spell, then he doesn't have it available, and no flash either, and could take a bad fight.
And there it is, dodging it. Instead of using the jump, he uses that Bellows Breath to get the shield. He's not unstoppable anymore. Oh, he knocks him off of Skarl.
Yes,
nice
Swish.
there.
Keeping up in CS and having pressure. The wave is a lot stronger here for Colorado, but not enough to say that Swish won't take that fight. Skarl comes back, but you can see he got him down to 200 health. And despite being pushed into turret, you can see there are 6 minions, including this cannon, available for Swish to take, and he's hitting all of them. He's actually up in CS despite being underneath this turret. That's the first I've seen him miss.
Yeah, he is doing really well, and he's going to go ahead and forge himself an item without going back because Ornn. I love it.
Ornn. Exactly.
I like the choice he made, too, a cloth armor.
Yeah, generally speaking, if you're not going to go for Mercury Treads, then you're going to have...
Ooh.
All right, Glacial Shroud. This will give him more mana. It'll give him the CDR to help himself last hit. He's already doing a great job, but I'm sure that's still that his first use, as they're approaching level 6 here, of his ultimate, Call of the Forge God, will be on a lower cooldown after its first use, rather than using it without CDR. The ward in the river does not have too long left on it, and you can see on the way pings from the Zac show that he is setting up for a gank path onto Zului. Despite Swish having his flash down for the first 5 minutes of the game, it's coming back up.
And that's exactly what you want. Now, here it is. He's going to get him off of Skarl, and Kraydon is there. No flash for Zului. He flashes into the Elastic Slingshot, and first blood for Kraydon.
Perfect use of Elastic Slingshot there. Swish setting it up perfectly. Kraydon putting the Shadow right in the position where if you flash at a max range, you're still going to get hit. If you don't flash and you step forward to dodge the Elastic Slingshot, you're walking right back into Swish. With only a couple hundred health, 150 health left, you're definitely going to fall one way or the other. They get the flash on top of it. Really well played. Don't even have to use their own summoning spells. Kraydon and Swish on the same page. Nice play. They get themselves first blood in the top lane.
And that is the start of our series here. We had game 1, now we're in a game 2 where instead of losing first blood, Utes get first blood, and they're even doing well in the other lanes. We can see it's only a 6 CS deficit there in the mid lane, only 7. And we talked about it, right? Tristana into any other AD carry, if you're going at least even, you're CSing like a madman. And there it is, 53 to 57, doing so well. Look at these gold values, only 100 down for Tristana, and then up 200 here for the Orin in the top side. Things going very well for the Utes here in game number 2.
Yeah, you can see Sejuani's here. She's level 5. Level 6 for both the top laners. We'll see if they want to take this fight.
That press the attack damage is pretty crazy. Kranon does get out. No summoner spells used. And somehow James kills Fisk in the bot side. Anaconda, what am I doing? Akonda was not in lane.
My Anaconda don't stick around when my support gets caught. And so it ends up being the 2v1. Tristana gets a kill. Picking off.
Whoa, might go down. Oh, okay, but Adam Josh does get the nice shield there.
Heals available, but yes, that's some nice poke there from the Ezreal. His turret is going to take a little bit of damage from these minions. He's going to last hit underneath, catch back up, even set himself ahead in CS. But the contest here on the top side is kind of messy.
This is a 3v2. There's the knock-up. The ult is available for everybody now. Instead, they're just going to let it reset, and then they're going to take it for themselves. Good defense there. And here comes the replay. Yeah, just completely alone. Fisk has, I wonder how they say, I want to say it's a glitter lance into a rocket jump, or a rocket jump into just raw damage here.
Nice,
because
by James.
Look at that. He gets the cooldown because the bomb resets. That's right, flash forward, and then he gets the reset. And another kill for Swish in the top lane.
Wow. I almost want to ask observers to give us a replay of that one, because it seems that Utah's early game is really taking off for them here, keeping up in CS numbers, ahead in ahead in top lane by 1. But then here's the kills. They're going in favor of Utah once again. I just need to see them being a little bit cleaner on those CS numbers, because that's what happened last game too. All right, in the top lane, Call of the Forge God, Zulu already down to half health. He's just going to get knocked up. Didn't get hit by the first end, but what can you do? Rage Bar won't come back up. A couple more autos will do it. Will he be able to turn it around? He does almost get Scarl, but the last auto attack takes him down.
And it's interesting, that interaction, because he becomes untargetable and unkillable while Scarl is running away. But we're going to have to talk about that in just a second, because Akonda is going to lose half his hit points here. He is very low. That Black Shield not doing anything. I don't think they were expecting that. James just dealing so much damage with that BF sword and the pickaxe. Look at that. He gets the Fleetfoot, gets a second auto attack. He's down to 170 health right now.
With no potions. His heal's available, and they did see Kraton walk through his jungle. Now they won't know how close he is.
He jumps in. Summoner heal is popped. He has to flash away. Akonda is going to live, but there's the kill for James onto Fisk again. 29A does get a ward down, but he doesn't want anything to do with that. Akonda levels up to get some hit points, but now we need to see a little bit of restraint here for the University of Utah. They don't want to get caught under turret with that Glacial Prison from Sejuani.
There's no teleport from top lane. There's not really any answer that they can have from Colorado here to answer this push. You can see James just
They're going to go for it. They do get the knock up onto 29A. He lets bounce, throws Sejuani in. That's the ultimate onto Kraton. Just trying to burn some stuff. Kraton doesn't even have to flash.
Yeah, but that's heal and flash from Ezreal, and the flash from 29A. That's pretty good for Utah. Now you're going to have Morgana showing back up, and there's no way Sejuani sticks around just doing a camp. Doesn't even have Smite to get healthy again. Akonda, less than half health. Imagine that they'll keep this push up. Azir goes missing, so you kind of have to respect the possibility of their own. They will back off, and this is because of the missing Azir. He's not in Vision. Vision is heavily in control in the river by Colorado. They don't want to throw the lead that they've accrued from themselves. Now, the biggest lead that they would have ever had in this series so far is now 1,500 gold in favor of Utah. They're going to get those early items, and hopefully they'll be able to secure those first few objectives. You can see top lane going heavily in favor. Swish doing a great job, even though there was a lot of draft pressure onto him. And
anyone watching the minimap saw, you can see their hit points are all really low there in the top side, but even the ultimate was used. Swish ulted onto Zului, and they're just fighting non-stop, which is what you need to do with Kled. You need to keep your courage up and keep Scarl, deal the damage, because Ornn is a tank. That's what he's going to bring to the table. He's a tank and crowd control, and really conditional damage on the brittle from the Bellows Breath and everything like that. And it's in the favor of the Utes right now. Bottom lane is winning, top lane is winning, mid lane appears to be going even. Kraton has some great ganks here, whereas 29A has not been nearly as effective as he was last game.
No, not really. And down here, on both edges of the map, there's massive pressure for Utah, which puts 29A in an awkward position, especially having lost his flash and really not having any pressure on the bot side, kind of just losing pressure. Nice dark binding. You want to see that from Fisk.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that Sejuani has very, very limited options. Ooh, James takes a lot of damage, but he'll return it as well. No health, basically, remaining on that turret. They'll get first break very, very shortly. But they might be looking to dive top lane. That is a full health Ornn. They're might be bringing Azir.
At least 29A. And, oh, they do see it. They spot it out with the ward there in the river.
Okay, this is what I want to see from Utah. As you look at the bottom side of the map, the turret is very unhealthy, right? It's definitely going to fall. And you can see they do finally spot Kenya. He's going to get some ward vision in the bottom side. They have Kraton here too, though, and he does get spotted out.
Oh, they don't care. They just want to jump this turret.
Now, there are ultimates available for both of these players. You have to see if they want to take this fight.
Kenya.
Sejuani misses the ult.
Or maybe landed because the cleanse is blown, but no flash. So Fisk is taking some damage, and James is there.
Back off. This is where you don't want to overstay.
Because here comes the teleport. Zului will have charge, and the other members are there. Here comes the ultimate charge. He is unstoppable. He is going to jump onto James. There's the summoner heal there, but now in comes Swish. The ultimate from Fisk is there. Kraton does not get anybody with his ultimate flashes, but still goes into the bloblets. Ornn calls the Forge God, does get a 4-man knockup, gets brittled down onto 29A. Akanda does get Kraton. There's some knockups. Akanda is really low. There's the Shurima shuffle, so Ligo does throw them in. Kenya whiffs the ultimate, but now Kenya goes down too. 29A picks up a kill on his own as well, and that is a 3-for-0 trade in favor of Colorado.
Really, really nice team fight play there from Colorado. A beauty to watch them outplaying almost every single spell. From Utah, you saw that they got right onto James. That's what happens when you over-aggress over what you get for free. They had already set up their early game to be immaculate here for Utah, and they get first brick, you can see. But the teleport comes through first. You can see Ornn takes a while. It starts teleporting in as the Ornn after Zului has already completed his. He shows up. James is far from the fight, can't really do anything. And then, of course, Zach gets caught. This is when Swish tries to re-engage, but this is what you needed about 10 seconds ago. Because, yes, he hits multiple members, but there's no damage threat. James is far from this fight. He can't be a part of it at all with no summoner spells and no health. And then you can see the nice Shurima shuffle. Kenya had what would have been a very good ultimate, would have taken down Okanda, but that's going to be the stopwatch that saves his life. You can see each one of those key spells from Utah, while used semi-properly, were not used in the way that they needed to because of the way Colorado played that fight. A late teleport from Swish, kind of hoping that it might have been canceled.
So Ligo is going to get pulled back from that stretching strike, but now 29A is here. Kenya dealing a lot of damage, but gets hit. He doesn't have the cleanse, and the counter gank from 29A solidifies that kill there.
Yeah, I mean,
starting to lose it.
A little bit back and forth. It's when you take something and you think that you got more than you did, you get baited into that. Utah has to play a little bit cleaner, not getting ahead of themselves. But you can see
no ultimate from 29A, so Adam Josh is just fine. Doesn't need to use a summoner spell. Not that he had one anyway. Just that quick little speed up gets him out. And now we're back into that perfect macro that Colorado has. They're taking the things that they can. They're getting the turrets and moving around the map and getting everything that they need. Kraton is here, but Fisk taking that blue buff for himself. It's going to be good, though, because Morgana being able to throw out more spells and get those pools down, I think that would be important.
Okay, this is in full vision, though. Both teams should know that the junglers are there, although it might not be full knowledge that Sejuani's on the wing here. She does not have her ultimate for a while, though. Nice ultimate comes through. James repositions.
Oh, but the Let's Bounce does get Fisk in. Kraton is really low, doesn't have his passive. Polymorph saves him for a moment, but now 29A gets the freeze onto James, and Ezreal in the back is dealing so much damage. Akanda picks up 2 and 29A the third.
Yeah, the over-aggression once again. Charge comes through to stop Ornn from getting close, because Ornn is really strong, might have been able to clean up the fight there, but now he's going to back off because he's down numbers completely.
He is going to try and nail Fisk. Oh, dodging it out barely. So now Zului and Akanda with their support are going to take down this top lane turret. and not even care that their minions aren't there because Zului is really healthy.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's the macro play. Once again by Colorado, the over-aggression gets punished again from Utah. They did get what seemed to be a good catch. They forced the flash away from Fisk, away in the top lane, but then they're out of position because they don't have that river vision, and the catch comes through from Sejuani. Despite the discomfort, I would say, 29A has on this champion, he's playing really well. After missing his first ultimate use, he's landed every single one since.
I think that, how would you say that? Unfamiliarity? Is that a word?
Yeah, unfamiliar.
Yeah, even though he is unfamiliar, once you use the spell, whether you're new to a champion or old, it starts to become more comfortable. So the second time, the third time, getting a better feel for the missile speed, where you need to aim to make sure that it explodes correctly and things like that. I have a friend who plays Blitzcrank and aims slightly to the right with the pull because that's the part of the body that his grab comes from. And so understanding those kind of things, I think that's why he's been able to hit them after trying it out a little bit.
Yeah, and once again with the macro here, you can see Utah do answer the neutral objective of the Herald with the Dragon, but they're late on it. It was only after they get the notification that it's been gone. Oh, almost interrupts the channel.
Speaking of, that crowd control was amazing. 3 different spells to keep Swish there. He does not make it out. Akonda dealing the damage there. The explosive shot is onto him, but they need to kill this Rift Herald now. It is taking down their turret. Fisk throwing down the pool to try and deal a little bit more damage. The smite goes down, and Shelly is out of the race. But Kled's still on the bottom lane. All alone,
you can
pushing.
see lane assignments here for Colorado have been, once again, immaculate, where they say, we'll take out someone with our extra members because we see that you're taking Dragon, we're going to force topside. And once we force that, we know that you can't answer elsewhere. So why bring Zului in? We don't even have to push the turret, really. We just let Herald do whatever it can. We take what we got for free, and then we get what we get on top of our advantage elsewhere. Because if you don't try and force that, and you don't end up returning any kills or losing any pressure, ooh, teleport here on the backside by Kled.
Kled is going to be behind James and Adam Josh. There's a leap forward from 29A. No ultimate. Zului is there in, gets Buster shot away, but charge comes in. Adam Josh does flash, and that is a good disengage. The teleport canceled now by Swish.
Okay, but with teleport canceled, yes, that gives Swish a little bit more time to push up bottom, a little more pressure, but Baron's in 30 seconds. That means there's 0 teleport for Swish, 0 teleport for Zului, and in the side wave, then it is Zului with the pressure on Swish. Swish is really strong. There's no pressure of Zului to actually solo kill Swish, but there's definitely not any pressure in the reverse. You can look at the gold here, 2,000 or so up for these carries over their lane opponents, right? You can see Kenya's down a couple thousand, James is down a couple thousand. Now, they're not down enough that they don't have like a completed item by this point, which would be really bad at 20 minutes. But with Baron on the table and team fights likely to take off at this point, you have to make sure that you have your players in place.
Ultimate there from Swish, going to miss everything. And now I think that Kraton really needs this Scuttle Crab there to keep vision on that Baron. Like you said, it is alive now. Will he be able to get it there? Sejuani, 29A. Nope. Crab turns back around because they don't care. They want to get James. Rocket jump and flash. No landing on the Dark Binding. James does make it out. Ooh. That was really close.
Really far up there. You can't afford to be there when you're just down so much vision. You can see, other than the Scuttle getting taken there by Kraton, there's next to no vision basically across the entire map. It's just the own bottom side jungle, like a pink ward there and a pink ward on blue buff, but that doesn't spot out the other wards in their own jungle.
And Zului doing really well, having given up the first 2 kills of the game, not doing bad at all. Coming back on this Kled, keeping the pressure, getting the key ultimates, and doing what you need to do. And this is a great lesson for everybody. It doesn't matter how far behind you get. If you do what you know you need to do to help your team win, you're effective. Look at this guy. He's going to take a turret. Orange is barely there to answer, throwing out his little pillar. Had to even use that Righteous Glory to get there fast enough. drawing pressure.
And that, once again, it's the macro play. It's the lane assignments and rotations that are heavily in favor of Colorado. That was the story in Game 1. It's continued into Game 2. Despite the early leads that Utah got for themselves in both of these games, they've been decimated by Colorado's rotations and being able to commit players to the correct positions. You'll see, when Orianna hopes to gank this Zului down here, I guess he didn't see the walk over the ward.
Now Call of the Forge God is there. Unstoppable is the charge. Nice use of that ultimate, but now they are all down. It looks like Zach is going to die as well. The Bloblets are out, and Azir and Akonda just deal so much damage to an unfortified little Bloblet.
Yeah, caught from vision, and you can see Colorado playing slow and steady. They're going to start up the Baron after the ward disappears. You can see Tristana has a lot of room to auto-attack, especially with that spell now on cooldown.
And the Dark Binding goes wide. James, Kenya, and Adam Josh do stop the Baron, but we are going to jump into a pause here really quick. And this is looking scary because the early game from Utah was great. They got first blood. They got a second one. They got the first, I believe they got first turret too, did they not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now, out of nowhere, everything is just falling apart.
Yeah, it's been slow and steady wins the race. I mentioned in draft how Colorado is just hoping that Ezreal is kind of like their insurance policy on holding the game until Azir can get to the point where he can kill everyone. And you can see, once we bring it back, you'll be able to check the scoreboard on this kind of information where Ezreal 503, lots of CS, comparable CS numbers to Tristana, but having that much extra gold from kills means you've been able to be that insurance policy. You can just see now the ramp from Azir. He has bonus cooldown reduction. He has so much attack speed. There's the cleanse. Nice binding there from Fisk. Fisk, who had been in last game and in a couple points in the early game this time around, a little bit of a liability for Utah, or for Colorado. Utah catching him out time and again. But now that we're approaching that later stage of mid-game, the late game approaching shortly, again, the Baron, the Dragons, these will be important for both these teams to pressure. It's very good to get that extra global gold, but you can see just how risky it is for James to push up that far. Last 2 times he's tried to pressure that turret, he's gotten caught out.
Mm-hmm. But I think that is good for the Utes, right? They're coming back now. They're down 5,000 gold, which has the record for the biggest deficit so far, I think. And the execute damage on the Permafrost gives that over to 29A. No, I lied. Kraydon got it.
Yep, he did use the smite. I was lucky enough to have that. But you can see the next dragon is spawning. This is going to be another cloud, so not really crazy for either of these teams. But you can imagine Utah might actually need this. Because in terms of rotations, they've been a step behind, a few seconds at the very least behind Colorado. If Colorado can answer with a cloud of their own.
One auto attack and the steal at 174 hit points.
Okay, 2 clouds
Feels
will
bad,
help
man.
them to answer. Just because you fall a few seconds behind in trying to answer what Colorado sets as their tempo doesn't mean that you automatically lose. And having a cloud to help them answer, essentially, what Colorado sets up to do will make a huge difference, I believe. So Cloud's not normally a huge advantage for any team in League of Legends, but stacking them up could help Utah to fill in, so to speak, the pothole in their strategy, which has been them getting punished for not rotating properly or not rotating fast enough.
I agree with you. And speaking of, Kraydon is there. He is going to Elastic Slingshot away. Good that he doesn't have to use any of his summoner spells, but again, there is so much vision for Colorado in this topside jungle that they can't go anywhere. The Buffalo are tracking the Utes.
Yeah, they're getting hunted. James, nice sidestep. That's a lot of damage onto Akonda.
Akonda does get Buster Shot away. 29A lands the ultimate onto James, and there's the Ezreal ult too, but so much damage. Call of the Forge God comes in, gets 3, gets the knockups, and that's another kill for James. He is jumped on by Zului. There's the airborne for Akonda. James does go down, but Shutdown goes over for Kenya, and now Swish has to flash away. Zului isn't there. Oh, he got the shield just in time, but instead Soligo picks up the kill on the backside. side. They're going to start this Baron because there is only Adam Josh alive for the Utah Utes.
Oh, man. That looked like a good fight for Utah. The Sejuani ult didn't mean that Tristana gets instantly bursted. In fact, Xianza, I don't think they can.
Yeah, they can't do it.
Not even close.
One more
which is actually
shot.
a huge problem for Colorado because despite them winning that fight, they wasted all of the death timer timing, essentially, getting nothing on top of it. They might have been able to push top lane, get that tier 2, maybe even push and crack. So I was thinking of Utah's macro play. In
Oh,
the last
snap.
Okay, sorry, that was a little harsh. But it's that they might have been able to crack open. I can't.
You can't. They want to crack open the base
Jihad
because
Ray.
they had pressure. Look, there are no turrets here in the mid lane. So if they had taken that 15 seconds that they were fighting the giant purple worm and pushed, they might have been able to do so.
Giant purple worm does bait these guys in. And this is a replay, as you can see here. Fisk, his cooldowns are down, right? He can't actually look. Nice sidestep from James means he can be aggressive because he knows that Fisk doesn't have that. The input buffered rocket jump allows James to have that space, and then you'll see the nice knock-up into knock-up doesn't actually take down Akonda, but he's forced to reposition because flash of the wall, Kenya on the bottom side, but then, right then, is when finally the second Dark Binding does land from the Morgana and ends up being huge for them because they take down Tristana, who was the main threat in that fight. Meaning they do end up getting Baron, too, on the back end here because of the map pressure, vision pressure. They're just able to take it. So that's going to be Baron on the back end while we were watching that pre-play, now here in favor of Colorado. And remember, Baron, as it stacks and gets later into the game, becomes stronger and stronger than it ever has been before in recent memory.
That won't happen until 40 minutes, but it is a really powerful buff. Fisk does get slowed. Swish will not get the knockup because of the black shield, but 29A is on the backside, gets the ultimate onto Swish. James jumps forward, forcing the flash from 29A. That is huge. Look at how many hit points he lost.
Yeah, I mean, Tristana's nothing to scoff at, right? We mentioned how even if you fall behind, we talk about that one game you and I casted just last week with Stanford, where once Tristana scales, she can DPS down pretty much anyone as James jumps onto the Ezreal, flashes forward, up in the top lane. Will that be Ezreal falling? He does. This is 28 minutes into the game, so the death timers are only around 45 seconds, but you can see elsewhere on the map that there's just so much in favor of University of Utah. We are on live. That was a little bit of a visual bug.
Oops.
They were looking for that. So, but you can see, once again, when Utah gets pressure and catches someone out, on the other side of the map, there's pressure from other champions, Colorado's other players saying, okay, we're losing something. You can see what happens here. Adam Josh going to aggressively, with red buff, hop forward.
James throws that. That's the slow. The flash answered, but Akonda just can't get out. He's only got two. They each only have 2 spells. So it's, great play there. Tristana doing exactly what Tristana did. That increased attack range, the explosion, the static shiv, and the crits. That's what you need. And now Fisk just kind of keeping the lane here, not wanting to take the minions, but keeping the Baron buff there so that they don't lose the push.
Yeah, and smart of University of Utah to buy themselves a little more time. Nice play there from James to get that catch. It gives them a little more breathing room. But how much is breathing room going to be worth to you if your Tristana's only at 80%, you don't have the vision control past the river, past even most of your own jungle, you haven't completely cleared it out, so you're not safe to really rotate.
No, but what someone is safe to do is this. Colorado live in this side of the jungle. Not the whole jungle. This top side, the blue side, has been their home all game. So Ligo dodges out the ultimate there.
And that's a lot of resources committed for essentially nothing.
Because they get 4 members on the top side.
Yeah, it was a major initiation ultimate from Swish in exchange for a low cooldown reposition spell. Not like low cooldown in like a few seconds, but very reusable. Unlike Swish, he's going to have long cooldown on his Call of the Forge God. It will be back up in about 30 seconds, but you can see 29A getting caught again. No flash on that champion, so the initiation tools for Colorado are rather limited as well.
We are at the gates of the base for University of Utah, but James deals so much damage. He's dealing almost 600 6,500.
They missed it. So now they don't have the tools to initiate at all. Zach might be able to get a catch here. The Black Shield comes through, but you can see they're not actually able to fight anymore. Colorado has to back off. And On top of this, Utah did an amazing job setting up the bottom side to push in now 3 full waves. Crashing on that tier 2 might be able to get it at least to half health, if not more. The pressure on bottom side for Utah without even having a champion there shows you that they're kind of cleaning up their macro. They're setting up at least their side waves, and now they can pressure the 3rd elemental. The next dragon that will spawn after this will absolutely
Will Akonda be caught? He is not. And so, here we go. You're right. This is the last elemental Drake before the Elder comes out, because that spawns at 35 minutes. Kled is on the bottom side. No need to engage here.
Yeah, no Glacial Prison even available for Sejuani, so they can't get caught out in rotation. Nice play there from Utah. They're finally cleaning things up. They get pressure in the bottom lane, force some recalls, dodge out some key spells so that they don't get initiated on and lose their base. And now they've waited out and stalled out the entirety of that Baron buff. But you can see, you mentioned just a moment ago, Jihadre, that Colorado is living on 2/3 of this entire map, whereas Utah has been clawing their way out of just their base even.
To jump forward, a lot of damage. Fisk is going to be spell immune, so no further engage from Kraydon. But now there are 3 members of Colorado here on the bot side. They're just going to let those minions jump in, and that's the macro. They know where everyone from Utah is, and they're going to take that turret like it was nothing.
Okay, Cleanse is available for Kenya, so he can afford to step forward here a little bit. There is the initiation.
There are all 3 ultimates there. Call of the Forge God does not get the second half. They're going to knock up 29A and kill him, but now they leave the top side exposed. Swish and Kraydon going to stay here and stave off the minion wave. James is going to go.
The back and forth there shows you a little bit of the indecisiveness of Utah for lane assignments. Yes, they got the catch and a good defense there in the bottom lane after losing their turret, but who's going to stay and defend if they're going to go and try and answer top lane? They do end up getting the catch because, once again, nice dodge there by James. He doesn't get hit by the Dark Binding, able to just run forward with Whimsy, but now he's at the 80% of crit chance without his buff, without the rapid fire Q, without even Whimsy coming through on top of what will, of course, be the Ardent Sensor. The attack speed and crit chance for James is massive. When his buffs are up, when Lulu's able to shield him, give him Whimsy, he has the DPS to kill essentially everyone. He just has to now build that lifesteal item. Once he has BT, he'll definitely have the survivability as well, but interestingly enough, no QSS. If he gets hit by a Dark Binding, if he gets hit by the Glacial Prison, it's very easy here for Colorado to just burst him down and likely end the game because there's very little threat remaining. Kenya nowhere near the level of power and pressure that we see here from Soligo.
Correct, but at the same time, nothing to sneeze at because Orianna does deal a lot of damage. Got the percent damage and the burst from the Luden's Echo. Plus, I think it's a little bit safer sometimes for Orianna because of the radius or diameter, circumference, whatever one of those of the ultimate. It's nice and wide, and it will disrupt more than one person. You can only stun one person with an ultimate from Sejuani, but there's a slow. Fisk is going to be the target here. He is in the Zhonya's now, but will go down. Great play there. And now on to the Baron. This is a Baron-taking team. But will it be enough? They are in trouble in their base because Kled is going to take the bottom inhibitor without an answer, and Azir is there. They are not able to take down or steal the Baron, but they lose their mid turret. Akonda wants to go in and stop these backs because then they can get 2 inhibitors. 2 for the Baron might be worth. That is it. Those are the plays. Well played by Colorado.
Generally speaking, an inhibitor for Baron is going to go in favor of the team that is up in gold, because otherwise they're relatively equal for one inhibitor. So when you're up in gold, Colorado going to be okay with taking an inhibitor for Baron as just a 1-for-1, because yes, there'll be ability for Utah to defend and a little bit more team fight strength. But Colorado already up in gold, able to match the stats that would be gained from the Baron buff, and their own super minion matches the push pressure as in at least one lane. However, 2 inhibitors and cracking open the base even further does a lot more for Colorado than it does for Utah. Utah is going to have to quickly group up. They can do this. They can reset, and of course, the Cloud Drakes will help them rotate even further, but they have to get more. They have to get a lot more here from this Baron push than they've lost in the last 10 minutes. Over and over and over again.
Definitely. And we are approaching here only 1 minute and 40 seconds on that Elder Drake. That will do wonders for whichever team gets it.
I can't imagine that Colorado would be able to contest this. Despite them having comparable gold, comparable items, even better in some cases, they don't have the vision that they used to because they had committed a lot of their resources to the other side of the map. But if Dragon is the next objective in thought here for Utah, you can see Colorado already thinking one step ahead. Do we care that much about Elder? No, we really don't, and we don't want that fight anyway, so what are we going to do? We're going to try and delete the base on the other side, but Black Shield might time out in time for the knockup. It doesn't.
Now Akonda is on the run. James dealing so much damage, so aggressive too. He has that Bloodthirster like you talk, and he picked up the QSS. He is safe. Safe to go a 1v2 there. Especially with Lulu right behind him. Adam Josh being exactly where he needs to be. And I think that this is, just like we were talking about earlier, the win condition is James. Get this guy ahead and safe. He's only died twice, but he has 7 out of the 10 kills. Doing very well. Great at the wave clear. Great at the team fighting. I think if they keep that guy safe, that they have a chance here.
What Utah needs to remember, once again, is that, yes, they are capable of essentially having James run someone down and kill them, which he might be doing in mid lane. Zoligo forced to back off. Zului is going to steal away the red, but you can see Zoligo had to flash and heal to escape that aggression. James able to just flash forward and force those 2 summoner spells as well as the reposition. But this is what I was going to talk about. Yes, Utah has the capability pretty easily to chase someone down, maybe even to get a kill out of it, but what they lose is these objectives, and they're not getting anything when they get those catches. In fact, they often lose things on the other side. So you can see Kraydon looking to get this vision because they don't want to lose the Elder just for free.
Oh, but he wasn't early enough for the smite, and that is a free Elder. Zului and Soligo sneaking that.
This doesn't make too much of a difference for the right here and now because Colorado still doesn't have what they need to be able to end the game, essentially, or even take the next team fight. And Utah's been able to stall out long enough for inhibitors to be respawning soon. But what it does do is deny the double Elder stack that would be massive for Utah. In playtesting, if you listen to the dive, anybody listening to the dive, one of the balance team members, the head of the balance team here for Riot, was on the dive, and he was talking about this patch, and he talked about Elder buff. He talked about how what it does is it goes from, it almost ends up being quadrupled, tripled at the very least, in terms of the base damage from each elemental that you picked up, from the first Elder to that second Elder. And they talked about how in game design for this patch, they wanted to move much more of the end game pressure from Baron and Elder to kind of be equalized, where depending on how the game has gone up until that point, you either prioritize Baron or you prioritize Elder. And with 3 elementals down and a lot of pressure from James as an AD carry to DPS people down, you can only imagine how much a double Elder or even just a single Elder would do for Utah's fight. So being able to deny that from Utah, Colorado sneaking that through, really smart for them. It's not going to last. It already has only a few seconds left on it. It helps with the poke from Akonda here, but you can hear, as the announcer says, the inhibitors are respawning, so there's not as much of that pressure, but we'll see if Colorado can once again split the focus from Utah on the map.
They are doing it so far. Zului is on the bottom side, ready to fight Swish, but I don't think he can win that fight. That super minion is there, but Kenya's going to go and support him. Mid inhibitor is going to be respawning next. Azir is there trying to shuffle in his minions, and they can't just leave Zului there. Kenya going to go in and try and stop it, but the wave clear just isn't there. That is the Righteous Glory unstoppable. That is the 3rd time Zului has had to use his ultimate just to escape. So that's decent, that's good.
It is, but it pulls those members over, and you can see that right when that happened, because they have full knowledge of it, Colorado says, okay, you're going to pressure bottom lane, we're going to go back to pressuring top lane. And they start engaging onto that turret, the only remaining inhibitor turret. Luckily for Utah, they'd already cleared the wave, so there's the backdoor resistances on that turret, so I don't think it was in pressure of falling, but definitely going to take some damage, help to chip away. And then, of course, the entire time, Azir just has pressure in mid lane because Orianna's trying to match the bottom to try and have that pressure, meaning nobody's answering in mid. Azir not able to really do much because he's down summoner spells. We'll have to see if he's actually able to do anything. Oh, as we return, I was just talking about Azir being down summoner spells. Because Call of the Forge God was available because they didn't use it to try and get Zului, then they're able to use that to catch out the summonerless Azir in mid lane. completely nullifying all map pressure from Colorado. You can see 1 minute until Baron. This is an important scuttle for 29A to secure for the team.
Now, they are going to push the mid lane here, the Utes. They're probably going to take that turret. Tristana dealing a lot of damage, has that explosive shot. But you're right, Scuttle Crab is there in favor of Colorado. No turret taken. James needs to be careful. He dodges out the Dark Binding. Kraydon goes in, but not far. A little too far, I would think.
Ooh.
All
James.
the speed and the shields. James dealing a lot of damage there. Fisk has to be careful. Just this Tristana is doing exactly what we said it was going to do. It is changing the tide of this fight. Getting so much damage down. They have a wave. Azir is still down. They are going to get an inhibitor of their own and go straight for the Baron. And now there it is. They don't want to engage quite yet, but did melt that down. There's the engage here. Swish is there, but the ultimate from Orianna is massive. No shuffle on, let's bounce, knocking up Soligo. No one has died. Kraydon goes into the passive form. Will his team be able to protect him here? James is so shielded. No, Zului does take him down. Swish on the front line. That is a 1-for-0, but the inhibitor goes the way of the University of Utah.
Yeah, I mean, that ends up being really close. Kind of an awkward use of Let's Bounce by Kraydon. What he did is he didn't
This is
catch
the double Baron.
anyone. This is the double Baron. It would be for Colorado.
No, it just scales. At 40 minutes, it gives you the double stats.
It's huge for either of these teams.
Yeah.
They might be able to get a catch here. There is James on the side. Who is around the corner? There's no flash for Soligo to try and follow up here. It's just a few seconds away. But you can see there's not any extra vision for either of these teams in the river. It's really risky for anyone to be walking forward. James, really, really strong. He has both of his summoners in just a couple seconds for that flash. But you can see Baron getting melted. It's already 2/3 gone.
In goes Swish. Call of the Forge God is there. James melting down Zului. Fisk gets the Zhonya's in there. Red team does pick up the Baron. Zului's going to go down on the other side. Polymorph to stop any aggression there. Fisk is still alive, but only just barely. Swish knocked around the backside. 29A is getting really low. He goes down. Tristana is going to get the double kill. Going to leap over the wall and try and go after Fisk because they are so low. Oh, he's just going to push with his supers.
Yes, he is.
No one can 1v1 him, especially no one can 1v2 him. Adam Josh is right there.
Yeah, there's Wild Growth available. There's Heal, Flash, Ignite. There's Summoner Spells here. You can see the QSS came through a little early. Luckily, he dodged it out. But you can see Tristana's just on the turrets. These are the Nexus turrets. There's 3B3. Will this be the end?
That looks like it will be. James dealing so much damage. Fisk can't get close enough. Akanda is squishy. Soligo is squishy. There are 4 members of the Utes here. They're wrecking these minions. Even though it is Baroned up minions against the super minions, James deals so much damage. Oh, but takes a whole bunch from the Azir soldiers. They might want to get out now. Only 8 seconds on Kled. His ultimate is available. They do make the right call. Take 1 inhibit Nexus turret, so good work there.
Yeah, I mean, there's the good push. Nice choice to take on the fight. I mean, you can see this kind of damage from Tristana laughs at any sort of stats that have been built so far on the front line. There's very little armor, actually, to speak of on the Sejuani. If she doesn't catch someone instantly, and with QSS, that's extremely hard to do. If she doesn't catch somebody, and by somebody, I mean definitely has to be Tristana, then she just gets melted by Tristana crit damage. You can see now with the items changing and Ornn items being completed, Masterwork items, this is the bonus scaling for Utah's composition. Ornn on the map. Man, this is so
It's
close.
intense, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nail biter for either team. Fans of either team, you don't want to face check at this point. Kraydon, no flash from the last fight. You can see
1,350 damage crits from James here. Swish goes in with the Righteous Glory, gets the Call of the Forge God, but a great initiation there from Zach. Let's Bounce, doesn't pull anybody because of the Black Shield, but James is in there. He gets 1 kill. That's 2 kills.
James!
Kraydon is in there and is still alive. James gets another kill. That's a double, but the one from Kenya also. Zului is the next target. The red buff is there, but he can't be slowed while he's in the ultimate. Do they have it? I think that's going to be the win. University of Utah gets 4 for nothing.
they have 2 waves of supers pushing in the mid lane. You know that they can do this. 5v1. They can end the game. Take us to game 3. James here on the Tristana, popping off late game. The buffs from Adam Josh doing so much work. You saw him do what seems like the solo queue Tristana. You wonder, can you really jump into 5 people? Can you really do that? Can you jump into 5 people in a late game team fight as Tristana, right into 5 of them and win the fight? James says yes. Adam Josh says go for it. They set it up perfectly, take down the Nexus, and that will bring us to what will surely be an exciting Game 3. Juhadre, what an amazing performance by both these teams. Colorado suffocating Utah down. Utah on their back foot, trying to dig their heels into their base, catch one person at a time, until they finally find those key fights, Juhadre. They find them, and Adam Josh with the perfect buffs, letting James just run at people, jump in to multi-man team fights. You saw something to be said for Orianna being able to use Shockwave to hit people on top of a Tristana who's in the middle. And you see just the amazing performance there of the late game team composition that was drafted there from Utah. Tristana damage.
And that's exactly what we were talking about. Just the your auto attacks on Tristana, on those types of champions, are going to be so much more effective than the spells and the burst coming from Ezreal, because there are still cooldowns. You don't have a cooldown on an auto attack. You have attack speed. That 2.5 attacks a second, it doesn't matter. You're just 250% crit damage, just wrecking everything. Like you said, it doesn't matter what resistances you have. You're being crit for 1,400.
And at the end there, it was a 100% crit chance. Tristana had sold the boots. You get that Phantom Dancer. You're even better at chasing people who you're really close to. And so with the Whimsy attack speed, your own buffed attack speed, you're just going to melt the front line, get the resets, and if the back line is anywhere in range of your auto attacks, you mentioned Ezreal stands no chance in that kind of a 1v1. No. And Azir doesn't even stand much of a chance if Lulu's right there to shield, and Wild Growth for 1,000+ extra effective health. Really well played. University of Utah takes Game 2 in this best-of-3 matchup. Man, the fights between these two teams have been a pleasure to watch. Game 3 coming your way, thousands of dollars in scholarship money on the line for these two teams. Don't go anywhere. The Rockies return in just a few minutes.
inside. You're just looking way down below. And if I can't hold my breath, then I'm bound to become hollow. Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? And I reflected on the memories, but I put out that torch. Hey! But I put out that torch. But I put out that torch. You make me feel like home. You turn around, I feel the breeze over me. You watch your dreams unfold. Let it come around and let it breathe over me. It's time to go away into the light. I feel the calming energy. I see the darkness.
All right, welcome back, college esports fans. This has been an amazing fight between two high-caliber teams. This is University of Utah Esports broadcasting live from the Einar Nielsen Fieldhouse at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. This is University of Utah in a best-of-3 against University of Colorado Boulder. We are into our final game, 3. We take game 1 in a convincing macro performance from Colorado.
It was beautiful.
It made Utah look like they were just scrambling to keep up with the tempo and the plays and the play calling that Colorado brought out in game 1. Very convincing for Colorado. Game 2, a nail-biter for sure. Goldley's going back and forth. And then Utah taking that late game, the Tristana performance with James, backed up by Adam Josh's Lulu, just snowballed them at the very last few team fights. Rocket jump into rocket jump into rocket jump into Nexus Explosion. Now 1-1 going into game 3. Talk to me. What did you like about these lineups? What are you seeing from this series?
I liked the adaptation. We talked about how both teams on the red side have instantly locked in the Ezreal. I don't think that's the way to go with this. He's bursty. He's not consistent with his damage. You need someone who is consistently putting the auto attacks down, that 100% crit, getting those kind of items because they're really strong right now. Tristana, name of the game so far, was the carry in game 1 for Colorado. Game 2, University of Utah, that's what saved the game, was just that 100% destruction.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, it's been that whichever team has taken Ezreal has lost in the late game, but have actually gotten the Ezreal ahead early. But it just hasn't translated. It hasn't netted the win for whichever team has drafted the Ezreal. We saw last game, it was the Zach stolen away first pick for blue side, which was University of Utah, and second round, they take the Tristana instantly into Lulu. So they had a key jungler stolen away, putting the awkward Sejuani here over onto 29A. Now, to be fair, 29A playing pretty well, despite, as far as I can tell, other than him maybe having a Smurf somewhere I haven't been able to track down, 0 Sejuani play last few years, last few seasons, but a pretty good performance, right? He hit some key ultimates to catch some people out and get his team ahead, but they weren't able to close it out, and it ultimately came down to that late-game Tristana, which you said during the break. We talked about what changes to the draft we might see. Tristana, banned, picked?
Only on the red side. If you're on red side and you're afraid they're going to pick it, you ban it. If you're on blue side, don't ban it. Pick it.
Which could be unfortunate, kind of feels bad, man, for Utah. They're going to be on their own crimson red side, right?
There it is,
But that means they don't have first pick. So they can't really leave Tristana open unless they have a plan to play into it, and we just saw the power of that pick in last game. So do you leave it open and risk that and try and get it back onto James?
I think you can leave it open if you get Kog'Maw Lulu.
Okay. Kog'Maw kind of been buffed, nerfed, kind of
he got brought a little bit back up to 6% health shred instead of 5.
Still going to be, obviously, late game shred, really, really strong. Does a lot better against high health champions. So maybe they leave that for later. Maybe they hide what they want to do in bottom lane for University of Utah. Whereas Colorado here, they should have a pretty solid strategy for their draft. which is ban out James.
Yeah.
The game one was strongly in their favor just from macro. The draft really didn't make the difference there. In game two, it was getting James just a champion that he can 1v9 in the late game was the victory, essentially, for University of Utah. So maybe it's just that simple. Is it that simple for Colorado just to say, okay, we'll ban out Tristana, we'll ban out Kog'Maw, we'll ban out Ezreal. What's left? Do you want to take Caitlyn? Do you want to take Kalista, who's had some changes? Maybe, I mean, there's probably not a lot of practice on the new changes to Kalista, so maybe he's rusty on it, despite it being one of those higher played champions for James. Are you really ready for it? I see it either they leave that kind of stuff up and James is able to solo carry again, or we might see an adaptation from Utah in response to that kind of draft I was just describing where they ban out a ton of bottom lane. Imagine Alistar, Kalista, bottom lane.
Yeah.
High games played, comfortable picks, other than perhaps the Kalista changes. There's interesting adaptations that could happen on either end of this draft.
And now that's what's so interesting is we saw junglers and mid laners banned all over the place game one, and then top laners in game number two. There were six top lane bans last game.
Yes, close to that.
It was
if it
lot.
wasn't 6, it was at least 5. Like,
yeah.
There were so many top lane bans, and the early pressure onto a flashless Swish. But I mean, we didn't talk about him much after the early game and laning phase because it was all the James show.
Mm-hmm.
But Swish.
Amazing play.
In both games.
Yeah, and that actually drew the Shen ban. They were like, I don't want to fight that again. And then they banned more, and then another, and then another. And so they put him on the Ornn that was supposed to be answered by the Kled, who has the aggression and the extra damage. But they just could not break that guy.
No, they couldn't. Not at all. They didn't really have an answer to it. And Swish, though he wasn't really able to put pressure in the split range, he had some really key ultimates to get people to catch out, or to get enough of a good ultimate that he created time buffers, zones of control that allowed Utah to get to the point where six item late game Tristana just melts everyone down.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens from that draft. I want to take a look at those lineups so you know exactly who we're talking about. Utah v Colorado. This is into game 3, as you can see on your screen. The boys in red, we've got Swish in the top lane, Kraydon in the jungle, Kenya subbed in, going to be coming in for game 3 as well. Soul Rush was game 1, Kenya game 2, Kenya coming in for game 3. James, that star AD carry, 1v9 last game with Adam Josh doing work in support.
Then over here on Colorado, hoping to take back the victory that they got in game 1. Zului in the top lane, 29A in the jungle, Soligo in the mid lane with Akonda and Fisk running in the bot lane. I think another thing needs to be said here. I think that the Kenya substitution is a great move from Utah because we talked about it. The play style between Soligo, Kenya, and Soul Rush, Kenya and Soligo are very similar. I think that understanding there is going to be better for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell precisely how the draft will go because there are so many different adaptations that either one of these teams can make based on what we've seen in the last 2 games. It were very different stories from the last 2 games. Yeah. It was clean, almost perfect macro play from Colorado in game 1 into mechanical late game scaling and the draft showing up for Utah in the late game for game 2, like convincingly. It was a clean wipe, ace for nothing at the end of game 2 in favor of Utah, and then they take that Nexus really, really strong, but it took them, what was that, 35, 40 minutes to get there.
It was a long time.
Yes, we were in the very late game. It was 6-item Tristana.
I think actually it was even longer than that because Colorado got the 40-minute Baron, right? So they got that, then they pushed, and then 2 fights later was when that ended. But we're going to see exactly what they were talking about, or what we were talking about, see what adaptations come here into the draft, but Sion is still pretty consistent.
Yeah, banned out against Swish once again. Rise again, 3rd game in a row that we've seen that banned out against Soligo. We'll have to see now if there's any adaptations, because these were the standard bans. Skarner's still banned. There's more of that jungle being banned out. Do they answer with more jungle bans, or do they focus still on Soligo?
It's actually really interesting because at this point in game 2 they banned the Camille, trying to keep the top lane a little under control. But I think you're onto something here, trying to ban out the Zoligo because the Rise is important there. but instead they do go with the Camille. They find that that is something they don't want to fight right now, especially with Swish doing so well. And there it is, the blue side Tristana ban. That means that Colorado specifically did not want to play it. They have something else in mind, or they want to play the Ezreal again, but understand that Tristana is the one that will ruin that plan.
So do you ban Ezreal here, or do you ban another mid lane, top lane, or jungle? Because it looks like jungle's likely to be the more prioritized first pick here. I think you ban Zac.
Yeah. And there it is, a great call there. I think you're right. You know, taking that #1 played from 29A.
This will be Jarvan.
You think it's going to be Jarvan?
I think it will be the Jarvan that comes through.
Oh, really?
Okay, that's very interesting. I think this is more 29A saying, I felt okay on it. I felt okay, and because I felt okay rather than weak or uncomfortable, we take it away from Kraydon.
Yes.
But Kraydon absolutely going to Jarvan here.
I believe you're right.
Unless, of course, they lock in, what, Azir Nunu or Nunu and like a late game hyper carry. You mentioned the Kog'Maw might be something, but Varus, the other on-hit carry, I think you pick Lulu here and save your jungle for something else.
I agree. The Lulu was key. And when I said they're going to ban Tristana during the break, you said, no. Lulu was the problem. Those shields, the attack speeds, the ults, all those buffs, that's what made the Tristana so dangerous. And the same can be said for the Varus. So I think you're right. If they don't lock it in, I think they're making a big mistake. Let's see. 3?
Yeah, because committing so many... There it is. I've called it now.
What is that, 3 times?
Yeah, I mean, it's what we talked about in the break, Jihadre. I mentioned that the Lulu was a lot of the extra power on that Tristana. Of course, James being able to position really well. You saw him dodging so many dark bindings from Fisk, but you end up seeing that the damage, the attack speed, the on-hit damage, and the survivability with shields, wild growth, and the movement speed from Whimsy is massive for an on-hit late-game carry. So Varus, of course, one of those champions that's very good late-game. Being able to have the Lulu there is the most important part of that kind of composition. Because without Tristana, you can fill it in. You mentioned Kog'Maw. Varus does that really well. But if you don't ban or pick away the Lulu, it's available to buff up pretty much any late game carry. Whereas if you ban the Lulu and you give them Tristana, it's possible that James gets ahead of himself and thinks, oh, I'm just as strong. Even at 6 items, he might think, I was just as strong. Now I have 6 items, I'm the same as last game. But no, you're missing probably a good 30% of your DPS capability. There's that Jarvan I talked about. Kraydon, really comfortable on that one. But Xayah, hard to catch out.
Definitely. But now, here's the best part. You ban the Rakan. First one out of the gate, and next we need to see some more support bans coming from University of Utah. Stuff like Alistar, stuff like Thresh, stuff like Tom Kench. Got to get that kind of thing. You know what? I want to see Taric banned. That's what I want. I don't want to see Taric in this game, but instead they do ban the Alistar. A great pick right there to get that out of the way because of the initiation capabilities of that champion.
Yeah, I mean, Fisk has only played Morgana in this entire series, and it's honestly been really, really weak.
Yes.
Other than the laning phase of Game 1, where we got to see him with some really good black shields, the bindings weren't missing, and whether that's from James just playing really well and dodging them, or just Fisk not landing them properly, is a point to debate, but it doesn't really matter that much because Fisk keeps getting caught out and falling. He's so squishy. Even in Game 1 where they did win, he had like 4 deaths he didn't need to. Kenya here hovering onto Victor.
On the Victor. We did see this, actually. Yes, we saw it. We cast Kenya playing this champion in the Pack G. Did really well. Nice positioning, good damage that he can do, landing the Chaos Storms and the stuns there in the fields, everything. I think that is a good pick, especially against the Orianna. They're both relative, quote-unquote immobile. They both have a speed up in the W's and the Q. Ooh, but yeah, Janna's a really good pick here, too, to help out the Xayah.
Okay, so I think both these teams have pretty equal compositions now so far. This is going to be mid lane. I don't think you lock in.
I don't think you're going to lock
Master
that in.
Yi for top lane. It's a little crazy. This is more likely to be locked in, if not going to the Kled again. But here's what you have. For both these team compositions, you have a tanky front line who are your initiators. You're going to have to see more tank, I think, here from the top lane. Maybe the Ornn once again.
Ornn would be good.
The thing here is both these teams want to start a fight and burst out whoever gets locked down in AoE. If that's Sejuani ulting someone into Orianna combo, or if it's Jarvan keeping people locked in Cataclysm and Victor with his Chaos Storm just melting the entire area, that's what both these teams want to do. And both of them will have very, very strong, very well scaling late game carries. Slightly more front end damage here on the Xayah, but a lot more DPS potential on the Varus, who can start to get to those Rage Blade procs. We'll have to see if he decides to opt for, we see Varus either go for lethal tempo to break that attack speed cap, or instead opt into Fleet Foot for stronger laning phase and healthier team fights. There's really only front-end burst potential. So if Varus is able to stay alive, I think the late game scaling, being able to have lethal tempo would be massive. But can you actually survive laning phase? I think you can, because Janna isn't one of those champions that can make it really difficult to lane, right? She just keeps her people alive. She doesn't have the greatest gank assist. You're relatively safe in that bottom lane.
Yeah. I think a lot of people underestimate the damage Varus can bring. You and I were able to watch part of the 100 Thieves Cloud9 game where Cody-san did actually lock that one in, and with the stacked Rage Blade and the Wit's End was just shredding everybody, like full tank members. He killed a Mega Gnar and a Sejuani in 4 seconds or so. And so I think that this is amazing, giving James the opportunity to do just what he did last game and just DPS the entire enemy teams at the same time.
Yeah, and there's a question for sure as to, are we going to see Varus with the Rage Blade build that's pretty common, or does he return to crit? There's a possibility that he returns to crit to start his damage a lot earlier. You have Lulu to give you the attack speed, so that when you have crit chance, you're going to be critting people and hitting people really, really hard at the front end of a fight, rather than taking just a few, like probably just about 2 seconds or less to get up to the Rage Blade stacks, where then you are melting people. But the crit gives you the ability to start melting people earlier, though it doesn't ramp up quite as hard. There's arguments on either side. We'll have to see what James ends up like opting in for. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because you have Lulu dealing magic damage, Ornn dealing a decent amount of magic damage, Victor, of course, magic damage. So the Wit's End build you mentioned could be really, really strong. But if you can melt the front line, you don't need to reduce the MR of their backline because they're squishy enough that if Victor's alive, if you're alive, you should be able to kill them anyway. But on the side here of Colorado, their builds are pretty well set out for them. They just get a little bit of MR, and they're set. Unless Varus goes the crit build, in which case he will melt you, even though Varus will do very little. And
so I think that the way they decide which build to do is we have to look lane by lane, right? Gnar versus Ornn.
Gnar.
Gnar's going to win that. Okay?
Yeah.
And then in the jungle, we have Sejuani and Jarvan.
Equal.
Equal. Very equal. And then Orianna and Victor.
Like 1% Orianna.
1%.
Like 1% her having an edge over Victor.
I can see that. Okay, and then in the bot side, because you're already kind of losing, you want that to win earlier. So either you send Jarvan there to catapult you into your later damage build, or you let Jarvan affect the top side of the map and you go the earlier damage with the crit. That's the way I'm seeing it right here, is you have to go lane by lane and see what will be the meta, most effective tactic available.
It is tough to think, where do you send your junglers early for either of these teams?
Yeah.
There's gank assist in top lane for both. There's gank assist in mid to a degree. Cleanse here on the Victor means he's really safe, but again, really susceptible once it's on cooldown.
Yeah.
Especially if he cleanse flashes. Then he's like basically a sitting duck to a Sejuani.
Yeah, for sure.
But post level 6, there's so much catch in the bottom lane. You can have Jarvan coming from nowhere. If Jarvan forces with Cataclysm, if he forces Xayah to use her ultimate, she can't actually go out of the wall. So she's still kind of stuck there. She can dodge the damage. Or she dodges the Varus ultimate, Chains of Corruption. She dodges that, but then she's a sitting duck for Jarvan to get on top. Like, you don't really have a lot of you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
for sure.
But if you have the damage, you just stand there, and Janna uses her spells to keep people off of you, and you just hold your ultimate, say, for if people all, like, flash on you. Then you ult. You don't have to ult on the front end by any means.
No, definitely
I think
not.
holding on to that spell will tell us how comfortable Akanda is, how well that player is holding his nerves together, because holding on to that key spell in team fights, even just in laning phase, will give us a lot. So here we are, on to Summoner's Rift. I timed it right there with the announcer by chance.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. This is the third game of our best of 3. It's 1-1, University of Utah versus Colorado. Adam Josh gets the Lulu once again to help James hopefully scale into that monster of a late game carry that he was last game. But the tools there, absolutely, for Colorado to play that same clean macro we saw in Game 1 and even into Game 2. Their rotations were very, very good. It just ended up being the Tristana taking over the game that won it for Utah, and them being able to play all in. Throw all of their chips on the table on that Tristana, and it paid off big, bringing us to Game 3. Jahadri, there's a lot on the line, isn't there?
Yes, there definitely is. This is the last regular season game here for these teams. They are tied. That means whoever wins goes on into the postseason, into the playoff bracket, and whichever team that is guaranteed a minimum of $1,000 scholarship per player.
Yeah, which is huge. I mean, that pays for your books, fees. That can go towards your tuition. It's $1,000 is not a little bit of money.
No,
that's
not.
pretty big for poor starving college student. But it's not just 1,000; it's the chance at even more. You get a guaranteed 1,000 whoever wins this game, but they also get to fight in the postseason of uLoL, looking for more, being able to take even more each match that they win, moving towards possibly even winning the finals, which would be an amazing thing for either of these teams. You know that they want that. You can smell it. You can smell the competition here. It's so hype.
And you know what? It may not sound like it from our voices, but we're trying to keep level here because it is really that hype. But we want to give you guys the chance to root for your teams and to feel it yourselves. I hope that everyone at home watching is screaming and loving this. It is early in this particular game, so there's not a lot to be hyped about, except that it is such a big game number 3. And I want to see these players demonstrate exactly that. This is a huge match, huge game that both of these teams really want and need to win.
So in terms of just skill level, I want to highlight once again how these two teams match up, because they've been really close games, both ends. Ooh, the early Raptors hurt.
It does hurt.
What you can see here, if you've ever looked up these players or if you're just curious, all of these players have never ever been lower than Platinum, and all of them are in the Diamond Plus range. There's multiple Master Tier Plus players. The star, of course, as we saw showcased last time, is James here for University of Utah. 600-plus LP Challenger season after season, and you saw it in his gameplay. And then, of course, you've seen in both games, you've seen in the gameplay here from the mid lane of Colorado, that level of Challenger play multiple seasons in a row, of course, from Soligo, but everybody at least Diamond, if not into the Masters range. So this is high-level League of Legends. You can see it coming through in just the micro as well as the macro play from both of these teams.
Definitely. And it is beautiful to watch. Just knowing the decisions, watching the things that they do decide to do is fantastic. It helps everybody learn how to play the game and learn why as well. This is why you pick the Gnar, though, because even into the tanks, he's going to deal that % health damage with the W, and that's what Orin is building. He's going to build the hit points. He wants to be tanky. We're now about 5 minutes into this game. Nothing too exciting has happened, but something I noticed at the beginning of the game, it used to be like 9 stopwatch, no, not that many, but like 6, 7 stopwatches per game at the beginning of Season 8. But now I think we've seen a total of like 5 at the beginning of the game. And it's been Fisk every time. He's always got a stopwatch. But then, in addition to that, look in the mid lane, Soligo grabbing a minion dematerializer, wanting to make sure and be able to push against the Victor. interesting how everything has been changing. Do you think that that was necessary with the minion dematerializer?
I think it's a smart choice. I haven't played much Orianna in the recent few patches myself. She's never been bad, but she's never been like topping the standings in statistics, whether for solo queue or even for competitive. But we can see Swish forced a base in the top lane. I'll answer your question. What minion dematerializer does for Orianna, she just uses her 4th of 6 stacks on it, allows her to outpush the Victor even harder early on, because Victor's always going to run into mana issues and just run into the pain of not having his upgraded laser to help him with wave clear. If Orianna can keep the pressure, keep him shoved either under turret or out of mana, he has no pressure to either take the fight. You can see down to like 200 mana. He has no pressure to either take the fight, or he's stuck under his turret so he can't leave on some sort of map rotation. So Soligo playing really smart here, and perhaps that explains his use, giving him bonus damage on melees.
There's the Chaos Storm, but also the Shockwave, forcing the flash from Kenya. This is dangerous because 29A is around, as is Kraton. It looks like they're going to fight over these Raptors, but one of these things is not like the other. Kenya not healthy enough to go in, so Ligo is able to roam. No ultimate, though.
Smite available for both these guys. Level 5, though, for Kraton.
Oh, he gets
doesn't
it.
even smite it. He just uses the Q. Early smite there from the Sejuani. Kenya able to pick up the last bit of
Oh,
CS2.
but here's going to be the solo kill. Nibela's Breath flash forward. First blood for Swish in the top lane.
500 range auto attack. Of course, you cannot cancel an auto attack that has already started its animation on you by flashing away from it. That's true of ranged and melee, so you can see that connects. And flash for flash in the top lane. Swish had just teleported back in because he had gotten low, but because of the trade that had got him low, Zului not very healthy, and that's a solo kill. Jungler's not even included. No assist gold in that pool. And that'll go in favor of Swish. We've talked about his performance in these few matches. Back and forth, but he's been consistent. Even with pressure put on him, he's done really well in the top lane.
Well, and that's the other thing. Game number 1, he played the Shen. Did really, really well, matched the split push, and then they banned it. They've banned it twice. They know that this guy, for them, is a problem. Colorado trying really hard to ban it out, but I'm confused why they didn't ban Ornn, because he did so well with it the last game that it seems like a silly thing to leave up.
I guess the Scion's scarier, even though we didn't see it in any of this match. It's something that they felt necessary to ban. It was banned in all 3 games. So, but the Ornn performance is really good. What I want to talk about here is the junglers. No ganks yet.
No, not yet.
Nothing at all to speak of. And level 6 is going to come through for Sejuani to match level 6 of Jarvan pretty soon here. Cataclysm or the Glacial Prison, both of those can all but guarantee you a kill in a gank. Going to hand off the blue here. We'll have to see if Colorado look to gank Kenya out because of his flash being down, or if it's going to be Kraton trying to put pressure back in top lane with the flash being down, or trying to get James ahead, even more so than the small CS lead he's accrued for himself.
And that's what we need to look at next, is where are these advantages? Oh, looks like they find each other. Kraton uses the blast plant. They are going to go in. Fisk does get the ultimate, but now Akanda has to flash too. That means 29A is going to be the next one. A fantastic route there. Adam Josh is hit with the Glacial Prison. The summoner heals are there, and no one is going to die. Wild Growth going to keep Adam Josh alive. Fantastic here. Does James have a piercing arrow that can go through and get the Fisk, though?
He does have flash available. One of the worst feelings is to be doing your recall and then to have Varus just channel Q and be able to flash to reposition to hit it. Better than you can react. But an interesting choice there. Kraton not using his ult on the Janna who had just flashed, who had just used her ultimate and her own self-shielding. Instead goes for Akanda, who flashed ultimates away. No kill for either of these teams, but could have been had. I mean, it's absolutely certain Kraton gets the kill there, 2 assists on that pool, but instead they try and get more summoner spells, and they do get rewarded with more summoner spells and, of course, the ultimate from Akanda. Does that really give you more? By getting those extra summoner spells, I think only if you return to the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, definitely. But Kraton is down his ultimate and his flash as well. James has his, so when I think they're going to try and time it with their ultimates. We can see only 1 quarter left on the cooldown for the Chains of Corruption, but now is a really good back timing too. They're going to be able to get these last minions here, and it's because the waves are going to arrive at the same time. They're going to just fight each other and stay right there in the center of the lane, be frozen for a little bit.
It's about 2,000 or so gold that both of these AD carries were able to base with, closer to like the 2,500 mark. But the important part is that they had not been able to purchase before that fight. Now that they have, things are really volatile in the bottom lane with no summoner spells, no flashes for Akanda or Fisk, and no heal, no defensive real capability. Their ultimates will be coming back up, but the pressure is definitely there for Utah. Akanda disconnecting once again is kind of unfortunate. You worry if you're Colorado here about that connection, because we've seen a few pauses here and there in each of these games where Akanda has been precisely the one disconnecting, only for a few seconds, but that makes you wonder, is he lagging too? Is that really problematic? Because if you're disconnecting every so often, does that mean your connection itself is like problematic? I don't want to talk about that too much.
No.
It's more that now we're into the third game. It's do or die. It's win or go home.
Yeah.
For both of these teams, the pressure is on. When you have this kind of an advantage in the bottom lane with those summoner spells, you need to return to it. Flash was used by Kraton as well, though, so he doesn't exactly have all of his tools available to catch them. And Janna, the Queen of Disengage, even without her summoner spells, the Maelstrom should be enough, right?
Yeah, and honestly, great timing with it to stop that whole engage earlier. I think it was a very effective ult use. No one died. Everyone was healing up. A couple flashes burned, but really, really great pick here on the Janna. Understanding, because it was one of the last, you saw already the engage potential from James, from Adam Josh, from Kraton. All 3 of those doing really well. But let's see, is Kenya in trouble here? Glacial Prison goes in. He does use the cleanse.
I don't know if that's so worth it. Orianna is trying to match a cannon wave that's now crashing in the middle. She can't really follow up to that play, and all that does is take the cleanse. Ooh,
but
Fisk.
The Chain of Corruption is there. Jarvan's there. Cataclysm, but there's the stopwatch. It's not going to save you. A Great Monsoon. It might save James is there. There's a shield from Orianna, but the Q. Kraton getting the kill with the Dragon Strike. Swish does continue the teleport, and now they are going to pick themselves a Drake.
I think this is first turret top lane, though, because that teleport was canceled. They're going to have to answer with either a catch on Orianna after this dragon or something of their own, a tower of their own in the bottom lane, because the gold lead is so close that losing a first turret to Anar is really, really bad for them. It's definitely going to be first turret. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Can they answer, at least without the bonus gold, but can they answer a turret of their own, say in the bottom lane with all this extra pressure? Looks like they're just playing it slow and steady. 29A still here, low mana. Not full health. Ultimate was used in that last engagement, but they definitely have pressure down here.
There is no root there for Akanda, but so much damage. James and Adam Josh doing their best here to keep themselves afloat and win this lane. Akanda taking so much damage right there, just trying to get a root underneath the turret. Sejuani did back, but is on her way back here to the bottom side. 29A trying to get everything to work out for them, but so far it's all about Utah this game. 500 gold down, but that's just because of the bonus gold from first turret. They are 2 kills ahead. They got the Drake. We're coming up on, because turrets are starting to go down, we're coming up on the very beginning of the end of the laning phase, which will probably be in favor of Utah as well.
You can see multiple members are looking to maybe rotate down here to help the bottom lane. Okay, Sejuani and Orianna return back to mid. You can see the wave clears at least here. They have to base. They're just down so many resources. They're going to
kill Orianna here. The
in
flash
mid.
there. We are in the mid. Burning Orianna's flash for just the Call of the Forge God. Insane. Oh, man. That spell is incredibly powerful. I don't like fighting that at all.
Yeah, Janna are going to stay here, try and shield up the turret, use the Howling Gale to stall, but with that kind of attack speed, James will be able to take this down for sure.
And there's their answer. They're able to take out this outer turret on the bot. Nope, they are not. They don't have the minions there. And it looks like another gank coming up here in the mid. That is a 2v2.
Cleanse isn't available.
To get the knock up and the ball in the right position, but good defense here. Kenya going forward. Shockwave not available. Oh, it is available. I lie. The flash for Kenya is there, but it looks like a fight here. Kraydon needs to run away. Zului.
This will
nice
be the
roam.
mid lane turret, though.
Yeah, it will.
You'll get forced off. Swish might be able to defend for a little bit, but you can see Kraydon basing as well because he's low health. I don't think you can actually defend this, even 1v2, let alone 1v3, but you can see red buff getting stolen away. That's just a loss of pressure in mid lane, 50 CS. This looks like the first game where there's just a massive CS advantage on Soligo. Will he be able to solo carry as hard as we saw James do in game 2?
Honestly, I want to say yes, but I'm not quite sure. It looks like James and Adam Josh are going to go here in onto Akanda and Fisk, getting the piercing arrow. The chains of corruption are there. There's another Monsoon dealing so much damage, though. Fisk almost going down. James getting the shields from Adam Josh. Key ultimates down for James and Fisk.
Just remember, James still hasn't gone back to do more purchasing with the gold in his inventory. He doesn't have the completed blasting wand, but you don't want to ruin your runes if you're Varus by getting a blasting wand ever, because it can actually force over the bonus AD to become bonus AP, and you kind of end up trolling yourself. Oh, but James in a weird position.
James does get hit.
Nice
he
flash.
flashes the ultimate from Sejuani. A nice knockup from Adam Josh is going to continue the disengage, and they get out for free. Only one flash and wow, I'm stumbling. One flash and one ultimate used there for the flash ultimate from Sejuani.
Yeah, and there was also the heal used from Akanda to try and stay healthy to not die in what could have been a re-engage. Honestly, just to save Fisk. The exhaust came through to hold James in place for as long as possible. They're trying to stop the base, but here's Kraydon.
Kraydon is there. He gets the ultimate. She can't go over the wall like you said, but the flash is back up. That's a nice route onto Kraydon. He is in a lot of trouble. Flashes away. Zului jumps in from the bounce, but is not able to get enough damage to kill Kraydon. But they have so much pressure on this turret. That might be their third.
Victor's here. That's a nice wave clear. There's the minions gone. But you can see Orianna be able to create pressure in mid. Teleport just in a couple seconds for Swish. But you can see their members are just missing. Will you be able to actually stick around? Low mana here. Low health for Josh.
So now they do see the engage here onto Kenya. He does get the gravity field, but he gets hit with the permafrost. Going to stop the aggression, but they are not going to save their turret. Orange saves the mid lane. But that's the third outer turret in favor of Colorado. They're now ahead 2,500 gold.
Yeah, and it is a lot of that gold lead is actually just from the CS in mid. It's about 15 to 17, depending on game time, worth of minions per kill gold, just in kind of an easy conversion for you viewers to think of. So when you're ahead 40 CS or so, that's about 3 kills worth of gold if they were equal in CS. So Orianna, basically a 3-0 victor in terms of gold. I like this choice to answer the bot side aggression with top side stealing of an objective, similar to what Colorado did a lot of in game 1 and 2. So they're able to get the Rift Herald. Hopefully that'll net them a turret of their own. You can see solo lane turrets really healthy for Colorado, gone for Utah, and Utah wasn't able to actually take down that bottom lane turret when they wanted to.
No, but I think with the Rift Herald, I think they're going to try and group up and take, I want to say, the mid lane. Bottom lane is going to go down relatively quick, especially with Orin down there. He's got decent wave clear with the Bellows Breath. But, yeah, mid lane would be the better one so that they can start getting into the jungle so they can have a little bit better priority on the Drake. But this is a 4v1. I think Swish is just going to try and get some damage. No,
Swish,
Vision.
you just have to back out there. You're alone. You can't really contest that, so you have to just back off.
I meant vision, not damage.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that will be a League of Clouds.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like every time. This is with the exception of the fourth Drake last game being an ocean, it's all clouds tonight. It's crazy.
You can see the lane assignments, once again, in favor of Colorado. They have the pressure in the jungle. Swish can't actually 1v2. Kraydon is here, but this is a 2v3 if they decide to try and take the fight.
Here comes the ultimate from Swish, Call of the Forge God, knocking up the Sejuani. Another knock up here from Kraydon. And now Kenya is in the mix, throwing down the laser. There's the ultimate for Kraydon. 29A is going to go down. There's a knock up on to Akanda and a kill for Swish. That is a 2-for-0 so far. And Kraydon has the inside track on Fisk. Does not land the knock up. Gets the Golden Aegis for the slow. And James and Adam Josh are on their way. That's a lot of damage on Adam Josh. He flashes away. James going to get the piercing arrow. Not quite enough. It looks like it didn't even land. Nice work, but Fisk does make it out alive. So Ligo a little too healthy for them to go back in.
Yeah, you saw the Sligo damage there. Completing the Luden's Echo, front-end burst, haunting guys for additional damage. There's just so much magic damage from this Orianna that even Victor, who's now got a Negatron cloak, likely building into a Banshee's Veil, I imagine, you're just scared of this Orianna. I asked the question, and I'll ask it again. Will it be Soligo, the challenger player for Colorado, who ends up 1v9 carrying for the win in Game 3, as challenger player James, star player for Utah, did for them in Game 2?
It's gonna be tough, but I think he's on his way to doing it. Soligo, like you said, super high up in the CS, just gold value-wise, about 3-4 kills right now, which is bananas because that's the amount of kills in the game, is 4. So if we look at it that way, it's actually a 4-on-4 in terms of kills, just in that number.
Yeah, it's really, really close, and gold ultimately still up. 3 targets to 0, 2,000 in gold lead. Okay, this will hopefully add a little bit more, and lucky for Utah that there wasn't really position advantage available for Colorado to answer, say, for like tier 2s. So it looks like this will be a good macro play from Utah, netting themselves one more turret, close to now still a 1,000 gold lead. That'll get them a little closer, but these team fights are all going to be, so far, about the Orianna shockwaves. Do they delete people that they need to delete? Do they reset fights the way that they need to reset them? Or is it James who's really strong, the top lane initiation from Swish, Kraydon able to follow that up for sure with his tanky build? Will they be able to get that front-end long fight that they want, rather than the front-end burst that Soligo is looking for sure, or resetting a fight with that shockwave?
It is good. I think there are a lot of conditions here. Number one, Gnar cannot be in mega form when you start that fight, because if he is, he's going to wreck everything. The team fight power of Mega Gnar is just insane. And so if they can time it just right, we can see he's building it up. So once that expires, if then you set up your play, I think it would be better.
There's just not enough armor here. This is very concerning for University of Utah fans. There's just not enough armor, the tankiness necessary for Swish to be able to match this 1v1, despite him being up to 0-1. The item completions of Black Cleaver plus Frozen Mallet is that really potent chase in the side lane. For the Gnar, you saw him just land 2 auto attacks and then another spell, and that took down a good 20% of Swish's health. You can't actually take that fight against the Gnar. So side lane pressure absolutely there for Colorado, but in terms of team fight, you mentioned it, Audrey. You hit it right on the head, where it has to be the Mega Gnar that has to show up huge for Colorado. Otherwise, Ornn does a lot more for you in a team fight.
And that's what they're banking on right here. It is easy to time out the Mega Gnar, especially with this kind of a team comp. You have the Call of the Forge God, you have a lot of mobility, the speed ups from Adam Josh, James with his own disengage. You know, unfortunate that you have to use it to disengage because you want it to be your fight starter, but it will work out that way. Man, Akanda clearing waves like crazy.
Yeah. And you can see he's going to be finishing what will likely be either the Static Shiv or the Rapid Fire, completing a Zeal item on this base. But there's going to be the Rapid Fire. He wants a little bit more poke.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, though, when I'm looking at these team compositions and thinking about how they need the fights to go, it's absolutely going to be the case that the Mega Gnar makes a huge difference if he can get where he wants to. And you think, yeah, you might be able to stall this out. But unlike having a Janna who can interrupt things and kind of counter the plays, if a Mega Gnar finds his targets, if they do not have flash, he catches them. He does.
Oh, like, definitely.
That's it. They're donezo, right? And you have to see the positioning from Utah be better. It's that quote of like, they have to be, I have to be lucky once, you have to be lucky all the time. That's what Colorado's thinking. I have to be lucky once, but you have to be lucky all the time because Utah doesn't have as many repositioning tools, as many reset tools to this fight. They have a lot of that go button potential to just take the fights when they're ready, but if they don't get the fight on their terms or it just doesn't start out favorably or at least even for Utah, then Utah doesn't get to reset so easily, especially if they're down summoner spells. Adam Josh can only do so much to peel off someone who doesn't, like James doesn't have even a QSS yet, and there's a lot of different ways he could get caught.
Speaking of, there it is. Call of the Forge God goes in a 1v4 here. There's a nice knockup, but it does not land onto Akonda. There's the ultimate onto Swish. Glacial Prison lands onto James, but there's the re-engage. Look at all that damage. Victor picks up a kill. Janna tries to heal him up, but Kraton is in the middle still. Zului about to go Mega. He is taking damage from the Chaos Storm. That was a 2-for-0 for Utah.
Yes, Flash is available for the Meganar. You don't want to do the same mistake that you caught them with, which is stepping forward when you're not actually safe to do so. They did get the nice Xayah ultimate baited out by Call of the Forge God, but after that, this is a little bit side there. Not enough damage, but the wave clear was the objective there. This is going to be a second dragon for Utah. Remember, the dragons are really important on this patch.
Yeah, they are.
But about that team fight, let's get a replay on your screen in just a moment. You'll see Call of the Forge God will be the key spell to start this off. Here it is, the nice flank on the bottom side, outside of vision. Call of the Forge God will come down when the aggression comes through. Akonda steps forward. He's going to get hit by the front end, would get hit by the second end, forces his ultimate, but then you can see Swish is able to force them to think that they get a catch here onto James. So when they step forward, they're into the middle of a Cataclysm Chaos Storm combo. Just so much there. Double kill almost instantly from Kenya on this signature Victor play, and then of course they're able to back off. They don't lose anyone, which is very surprising considering
the full four-man shockwave.
Yeah, the four-man shockwave, James getting caught by Glacial Prison, and Adam Josh already had used Wild Growth onto Swish, so not all of the extra defensive tools for James, but he does have to flash and heal. Yeah. So he doesn't have that. If he gets caught again, you can only imagine he gets absolutely deleted.
And looking at the items here, it looks like they did go with the Rush Rageblade Wits End, and that those daggers are probably going to turn into the Hurricane, and that's going to be that full team shred, attacking 3 different times, stacking that up so quick. But you know, Colorado doing a great job so far. Kenya might be caught here. He is going to get hit with the Glacial Prison, but now 29A is all alone. He is going to get hit with the Cataclysm. All the damage there. 29A does go down, but now Saligo is going to die as well. He gets a nice shockwave, but doesn't get anything. Kenya now on a killing spree. That was a 2-for-0, and they're going to go ahead and try and get this Baron.
Yeah, and they should be able to secure it. There's no jungler, no smite available, and no real damage threat to stop it, unless we see a Bloodwater Howling Gale steal, which I can't imagine will come through. The smite is available. There's the Howling Gale. Will it happen?
No, it's 2,000 hit points. There's the ultimate from Adam Josh, though, to secure it. Meanwhile, pushing from Zului and in the mid lane by Akonda.
Okay, but when I Googled Rorschach earlier today, all I saw was split pushes by Colorado, because that's what I'm feeling here. There's all this sort of deja vu even that happens in my mind, because 0 to 8 in kills, a Baron even going over in favor of Utah. They get those catches, but on the other side of the map in 2 separate lanes, it gets answered with turrets being taken, 5 turrets to 1. The gold still even on top of the Baron and 2 catches, almost 3 catches. Utah still down in gold. It's now tied up perfectly. But you would think if you have 8 kills, a Baron, 2 dragons, that you'd be way up. You'd be super strong. But the 5 turret game, the macro decisions here by Colorado are looking reminiscent of that Game 1 victory they took early on in this series.
And now we need to see that Utah can handle it, right? They are 8-0 again. They are tied in gold, but now they're starting to hit their item thresholds here. Black Cleaver completed on Jarvan. That's going to be a 3rd armor item coming out for Ornn. And now we have 3 completed carry items on to James, where if we look on the other side, Orianna is the one ahead there, and Gnar only on 2. So it's, like you said, it's even. Can the University of Utah keep this in their favor, or will Colorado be the team to take it just like they did Game 1? It's really close.
It is extremely close. You can see now that there's a lot more armor in Swish's inventory. He's more comfortable pushing even in a long, unsafe lane. He's okay to push in against an
29A might be caught out. The ultimate is there. All the slows are there. There's a knockup, and 29A is going to go down. Kenya doesn't get hit with the shockwave. Instead, it was used for wave clear. They're going to lose this turret.
8.4. 8.4. The shockwave can't even take down all those casters, and those are going to be there to help with that backdoor bonus. You can see Nar's backing off because he's trying to build up that rage, get healthy again. And Swish has the pressure with Baron buff. You can see James takes a little bit of damage from getting hit by the turret, but hopefully they can rotate through and get more on the map. Wave really far away. Smart choice to just back off. Hopefully they can get mid, clean up that pressure. This is where Swish has to be careful not to get caught by multiple members because he is really pushed up without a lot of vision on his flank. Kenya, though.
Kenya takes half his hit points there from the Oriana ball, and you know, that was the great play. Now we're seeing the advantage come in. Those 9 kills and the 3 turrets are net them a 3,000 gold lead, but will they have things to fight here? Swish goes in with the Call of the Forge God. They just want the turret. It was just a dissuasion tool. Sejuani goes in. Meganar is there. Zului jumps in, but realizes that he's almost done and backs out wisely.
That, you can tell, was absolutely a play call saying, I have Mega, and whoever said it told him, no, we don't want this fight. We're not ready. They got the turret, they're backing off, and we lost our flash. We don't have Glacial Prison. It only comes up now for Sejuani. They can't really turn that fight and follow up. It would have likely been that, what we just saw earlier today in NALCS, where Licorice from Cloud9 on his own Gnar play tries to get, and does get, the multi-man Gnar ult, but no real follow-up available, and it really can just throw a fight. So you just have to recognize and, in awe, really respect the communication, the macro decision-making on Colorado here, whether that's a team-oriented thing or one of them is just their shot caller. Props to whomever that would be, or all of them as a team together even, because they've been really good at making decisions to, again, as I mentioned in Game 2, the low-risk, low-reward, but smart choices that allow them to not lose what they do gain.
And that's that high level we were talking about. These guys, Platinum Plus, Diamond Plus, in this high level of play, understanding the game more than just how to right-click and cast a spell. It's all about the nuances of the map. And it's beautiful to be watching here. That team fight would have been catastrophic had he gone in. But now we're at this point, 9 kills to 0. Looks like the University of Utah taking it back. I don't think he will. He's clearing out the ward. He's going to stay around where he knows is safe.
A reset for both these teams, really. Trying to clear out the vision for both these teams. They weren't able to clear out all of University of Utah's vision on this top side. Sejuani going to hit that last ward now. But you can see in the inventories 3 pink wards, or I should say control wards here for Kenya, and then multiple in the inventories of his teammates. They should be able to take back vision control over the next 2 minutes for this Baron. They're in full control of this part of the map, right? They can't enter the enemy jungle. You can see all of the control wards. Means it's extremely scary to face check, but if Soligo goes topside to try and clear those waves, that's problematic. It looks like the wave has been set up for Utah to push in their favor on that top side. If they can keep that and allow it to slow push and stack up in their favor, that'll give them additional pressure over there, at least for a moment, before Soligo here on Oriana would have to commit, have to reposition himself to go answer that wave. As you can see, he's likely going to do now because he sees members mid lane.
Well, not only that, we see the bot lane coming out here for Utah. They want to get that lane pushing in their favor as well. Zului going to try and stop them, but the turret is really healthy, so I think that they might not be able to take it, but James attacks really fast. In fact, he gets 1 auto attack onto the Gnar, but they need to be careful. Kratos is here. They don't want a 5v5 right now. Ornn on his way.
Mega Gnar is available.
They don't want to fight with Mega Gnar. So I think the University of Utah needs to back out. These Utes need to stay careful and hunt carefully.
Indeed. You can see the Buffaloes also playing it smart. Don't want to take an initiation that's not a sure thing. They have really good tools to start fights that they want to take but they have to make sure that they're on the same page, that they decide it is the fight they want to take. And then when they do commit all those resources, they have to pay off, and pay off big. Whereas for Utah, it's the small catches, catching people in side waves, getting the side wave pressure, as once again, I mentioned the top wave is now pushing even further. Orianna going to catch it, but will they get a face check here out of someone? Since they don't have vision of the Baron, 29A going to try and get a little bit of vision.
Baron is spawning now. Utes are outside of vision completely. They see one. Now they've got the control wards there to stop anything else. It looks like James is going to start this Baron. 29A on the front side where he needs to be, but Orianna still on the far side, so Ligo not with the team fight. There's a stun onto Zului, but a disengage from Utah.
You wonder what both of these teams are thinking. This should be the inside track here for University of Utah. Will we see an engage?
We do. Akonda does go in, but now the ultimate is onto Fisk. A flash burned, and that is a key spell. Janna needs that, but it's gone.
Very little lost there for University of Utah. It's Cataclysm for Janna Flash plus Xayah heal and ultimate. Very important to get those off. You can see, though, that Colorado has answered and now set up their side waves to be pushing in their favor, and they have the inside track on mid. You either force down the Baron or take the fight immediately. It looks like they're going to go for the fight.
There's the route onto 29A, the knock-up, so no one is going to get hit with that redemption. A wasted spell. Zului is in Mega Gnar form. He flashes, but does not get anything with the ultimate. James is now ready to go in and deal all his damage. Swish caught by the ultimate from Sejuani, but it does nothing. All the key spells are now down. Utah is ready to take this Baron.
They don't do it fast enough, though. It's only down to half health. Kraydon down to half health as well. Cataclysm not back off cooldown. They still have Shockwave. Look at the clumps there. If they step in, this is going to be it.
Kraydon is dealing so much damage, as is James. There's the Shockwave, but the ultimates are not there. Kraydon gets the Baron. There's the ultimate from Janna. 29A goes down. James is going to be the carry, but Kenya also in the front line. Zului going to try and get Mega Gnar back so that they can fight. Kraydon does not have enough health to go back in. Kenya trying to stop it with the Chaos Field, but that is a Baron with a kill on top for Utah.
Just in time, too. You see that they're now able to do the enhanced recalls to answer those waves. The massive one in bottom lane hopefully going over to a carry here. It'll either be Kenya, who's built a gauntlet, I'll add.
He's had that for a while.
Yeah, and he's going to be relatively tanky, able to actually play up. You've seen that the recent buffs to Victor on the last patch, not the most recent one, but on 8.3, give him more survivability. The Riot putting in the notes for that patch that they want that. Here's that replay. You can see the perfectly answered flash. Kenya going to play forward. James backs off because he knows it's a little scary. Oh, this was after that. I was looking for the Gnar play. But you can see there's no Mega Gnar. That's not available. Soligo is going to flash in to look for a Shockwave to try and deal damage as well as maybe steal. But you can see James super tanky in terms of shielding, can keep the Baron aggroed and keep melting it. Here comes Soligo. After the gravity field goes down, he flashes forward and gets a two-man Shockwave. James down to half health, but you can see the turn. Swish stays alive. That's the heal that came through from James onto the lowest health tank, and they stay alive in the middle of the pit. You can see Kenya full health essentially, but then even in vision, then the Orianna was just able to turn things around. This could be the Elder. Again, they already have 3, and they have Baron on them. This could be a game-winning push if they're able to set this up properly. They don't want to get caught. Remember, the Orianna is the name of the game here for Colorado. They are not out of this by any means. A 7,000 gold lead at 38 minutes is big, but it's not massive. It's not something to think is
insurmountable.
Thank you. I was looking for a term like that. But now they have Baron. A double wave pushing down here. James has flash available, all right, Shockwave comes down. Kenya's still healthy.
Ultimates from both Orianna and Sejuani, but the redemption comes down to heal them. Nice. All ultimates are... Nope. Kenya used his in that last engage, but everywhere else they are ready to go in and fight. Minion wave meeting up with the Utes here in the mid lane. That's going to take them ahead in turrets for the first time this series. They have more turrets taken. And now James getting damage down onto 29A, but there's a knockup. He is in trouble. That's the ultimate from Lulu and Call of the Forge God. Is he going to get a knockup? It is just to disengage. Swish is still very healthy there in the front line. He dives away. A nice fight, but Colorado showing exactly what you said.
It's worrisome if you're a fan of University of Utah that even with Baron, triple Elder, right? Well, single Elder buff, but triple Elemental Elder means you can't break the base? Really? That's worrisome for you. Even having to use defensive ultimates even to try and keep this alive. You got another huge wave here with the Baron timing out very, very soon. We'll have to see if they're able to get this here. QSS still available for James, but he's playing a little far forward. Remember, the Howling Gale was what did it last time to set it up for more crowd control. There's still the Glacial Prison in just a moment.
Oh, but they've got the track on the mid lane. That's the ultimate from James to start the roots. Kraton going to give attack speed here to James. There's no turret. That means they might have the fight, but they don't want it. They're going to play it nice and slow.
With so much on the line, I think this is good enough for that push. It would be so sad for University of Utah if they can't break the base with those many buffs. But as the Baron times out, they're willing to use ultimates just to create the cushion of space for James to hit the turret. And yes, they break the base. You can't regenerate a dead turret. There's no Azir in the game to help them be able to do this. But now that the base is open, they might be able to turn back around. 700 ability power approaching CDR cap. This Orianna, the Shockwave, should be massive. But you can see Kenya's actually equal in gold. There's a almost 8,000 gold lead for Utah now. And they're set up for success if they can get either the next Baron, which you've mentioned, post 40 minutes is a massive buff. And now a second Elder would be just as massive, of course, if they can get it. It's really, really close. This is the fighter, Kenya, here on Victor. Not so much the front-end burst damage as much as the cooldown and reposition and slows and gravity fields for him to be able to keep these fights continuously going, playing into the team composition Utah has built for themselves. The DPS from James, Adam Josh resetting fights, Kraton locking people down for them to actually DPS, and Kenya, of course, his build has been optimized for that strategy. Colorado, though, they have the tools still to be able to take these team fights. They just need the perfect catches and the perfect follow-up to them.
Those catches and follow-up need to happen quick because, once again, Utah has Ornn. That means those enhanced items will be coming out. We're at 42 minutes. Look, we already see the Abyssal Mask upgraded on Ornn himself. That means that it's going to snowball from there. If you can't win the fight now, you're not going to when they have all those extra combat stats built into their items.
Yeah, and those who are not massively tanky, meaning the bottom lane here from Utah, both have Quicksilver Sashes available. Even the Lulu has built it, which tells you that Adam Josh is thinking a couple steps ahead. If I have to keep Varus alive, I can't do that if I'm the one who gets caught. And I have to help with vision. I have to make sure that we set things up properly. If that means I might have to be in risky positions from time to time, it's important that I keep myself alive. With summoner spells available for literally everyone here, 42 minutes into the game, this could spell victory for Utah or a massive comeback. Oh, the catch might be here.
Ooh, that was really close. Arctic Assault going to get Sejuani away. 29A almost, I would say it would have lost them the game at that point, but able to get out. And I like that you said it's setting them up for Victor E, because Victor.
That's an almost 800 shield that comes through from the Lulu at this point. You can see James sidestepping, trying to stay alive. That crit damage, so powerful. It's important that before any fight starts, that James stacks up that Rage Blade. It's a massive amp to his damage. The importance of it cannot be discounted. When you don't have that turret to stack your autos up on, it has to be on either a frontline tank or some neutral objective. You can see the ward comes through. James here starts it up. They're going to start up the Baron. This is going to force the fight. Look at bottom lane. They have to either answer that or take this fight instantly. Now, will the Orianna get the shockwave that's necessary? Swish on the flank.
Swish does get the perfect ultimate, but the Baron still, 29A picks it up, but he is going to be killed, and now James on the backside is killing everybody. Akanda goes in. A shockwave! That was massive! Orianna is going to survive, and the fight went nearly even. A 2 for 2, but the Baron for Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, the flash in with the advance the steal there from the Sejuani is just insane, where Sejuani steals the Baron, and then they start that fight. It looked good on the front end of it for our Utah because they were able to re-engage so quickly. I mentioned it, the wave. Wow. You either have to take the fight or respond, but what it ended up being is that Orianna, the shockwave onto all of them, and it was just an insane way. I mean, it's just so crazy to see how that turned out. Let's watch this replay. You can see they have the nice position. There's vision advantage in the Baron pit. They started off and they get it extremely low. It will be the steal, but besides that, watch how the fight goes. Swish gets the nice flank. He says, look, I'm going to be able to zone, but even with the zone, the Sejuani jumps in, flashes in. They had the control ward for her to know that she could get in. Gets the nice steal, but then the re-engage. Looks so good, but the clump, as they try to aggress, there's the shockwave onto 3, instantly deleting James, getting them low. It's such a close fight. Soligo tries to turn back around, and then a full health Akanda is able to just say, get off of my river, and they chase him down a little bit further. Don't get any more kills, but they're able to return to defend the base a little bit. They lost that inhibitor turret.
Yeah, they lost it on the boss side.
What was taken before that? Utah, 3 elementals. They already had the first Elder Dragon. This will be the first 8.4 double Elder if they can secure it, but they have to make sure they have that vision. Remember what just happened at Baron. You have to make sure that you can't have Sejuani rushing in and stealing it at the last second. Honestly, in a situation where she shouldn't have had any business getting the smite, it shouldn't be a 50-50. You're up 2 levels here on Kraydon. Now, fortunately, it didn't spell complete and absolute game-ending disaster for Utah that they lost that last fight. But here, they need to set up their vision. They're holding on to their wards to make sure that they don't lose it to now the counter-aggression.
Well, because they need it for the teleport. Swish is on the top lane answering a wave. So they need to be able to have a ward that can be teleported to. And now, there it is. They are going to start teleporting from the bottom side of the wave. The fight is going to start. Zului on the front side. He's going to get caught by the gravity field. There's a call of the Forge God, and the ultimates are in. Instantly, Fist goes down. That's another kill. Nar is dead. Swish on the front side. James going to kill Akanda. That's the jump in. The ultimate onto Soligo. Kraydon to getting that one set up perfectly. Another 4-man shockwave, but it doesn't matter. Kenya slays Soligo. That is going to be the end of the game because it is a 4v1. 29A cannot fight all 4 of these guys. Look at Swish healing up with that Warmog's armor.
The patience pays off. They sacrifice the vision and back off. Wait for the perfect teleport. They had set that up with the vision first. The teleport came in. And that will end up being that they take that fight before the dragon can even get low. It wasn't we wait for it and try to steal it. It's we take this fight and we take it now. 29A gonna try and solo stop this. He's full health, but what can he really do? They have a full wave. That's gonna be the second Nexus. The Nexus falls. This is going to be the explosion. Game 3. University of Utah. They take it. 47 minutes into the match. Well played by both these teams. Juhadre, University of Utah, will go to the postseason. $1,000 and more in serious scholarship money going to these players for their hard-fought match. Really well played.
I'm like losing it right now. It was
How
so
can you not
intense.
Feel the hype from that kind of League of Legends play. It's a pleasure to watch. It's even more fun for me to cast. That last 2 fights played really well by either of these teams. We saw the power of the Orianna shockwave onto 4+ members, deleting people, getting them so low at that Baron. The same thing happened, but after the catches came through, the perfect teleports from Swish to set up those fights to start out well, to create those cushions that were necessary for a Varus to do what Tristana did in Game 2. DPS people down. It ended up being, I think, Kraydon with his patient plays.
Oh, for sure. And, my gosh, sometimes we do talk about, like, player of the game, player of the series and things. As critical as a lot of these guys were, I'm going to give it to Swish. He was everywhere. He was the engage. He was the split push answer. He was the tank. And you know what? Without his perfect play, without those ultimates, I don't think it would have been possible.
Yeah, let's look one more time at the lineups of the players here in these games that we just saw today. For Utah, you mentioned player of the game, you're going to give that to Swish. Kraydon, I'd say he's in contest for it, but Swish, I'll say it, yes. MVP, Swish, being consistent in all 3 games. Kraydon in the jungle, Kenya swapping it up, bringing it in for mid lane. James and Josh doing the work in the bottom lane there. Colorado really strong too.
They were very strong. Zului had fantastic fights, fantastic engages, just not quite enough. 29A playing on a champion that, from what we can tell, was not a total comfort, but he playing it very, very well. So Ligo nearly killing everybody. And Akonda with Fisk, they did really, really well in those matchups. Just man, it was so close.
What a pleasure to cast. The best of 3 goes to University of Utah, pushing them into the postseason. They'll have the opportunity to take match after match in their best ofs to push them to possibly taking the finals, each of those increasing the prize money that they'll get, but already securing that $1,000 per player of scholarship money, College League of Legends. Beautiful play from both these. Congratulations to Utah, but well played to Colorado.
Very well played.
Close games each 3 games. I cannot stress enough how good both these teams were this evening. It's been a pleasure to have you with us here as we're broadcasting live from the historic Einar Nielsen Fieldhouse in Salt Lake City at the University of Utah. My name is Jake SupermanCasting Mori. Alongside me, play-by-play paladin himself, Ben Juhadre Sorensen. You can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and all sorts of social media at SupermanCasting.
At Juhadre, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all of the things.
It's been a pleasure to cast for you this evening. Thanks for joining us. Amazing League of Legends. More will return for PAC-G on Monday. We hope to see you then. Thanks again, and have a wonderful evening.
If you're gonna cut me down, better do it quickly now. You can cut me down, but I won't stay for long. I'll grow back again. Oh yeah, my roots are strong. My roots are strong. Say the word, say the word. Say the word, come on.